Good evening, chat. How are we doing? We have a special guest on the stream today. Do you want to introduce yourself to the chat, Sean?
Yeah, I'm Sean Halsall, and I'm standing to be an independent parliamentary candidate up in Southport in the Northwest.
Yeah, absolutely. I wanted to make sure we platform as many independent socialist candidates as we can. We want to do a little bit of interview today. We've got a few things that we were going to talk about today. But if we want to just start off by, actually, let me just find the email that I sent. There'll be in my sent folder in it. That's one. Good at technology, me. There you go. So yeah, there was a few questions that we had written down. So if you want to talk about your background, how you got into politics,
Yeah.
your kind of your history with regards. I know you're obviously big into obviously your trade unions, so that kind of history and stuff. I think is probably what a chat is going to be really interested to hear about.
Okay, yeah. So I was a bus driver for about 16 years in Merseyside in my local depot. I got involved with the trade union member from the day I started, as everyone up in Merseyside on the buses seems to be.
Hmm.
I joined the union, got involved, got stood for election in 2012, 2013.
Okay.
I got elected there as a workplace rep and then sort of hit the ground running. Was very switched off with politics at the time, I won't lie. It was on one of my shop steward courses that our political officer came in and kind of talked us into joining the Labour Party. I say us, I think I was probably the only one at the time. In 2014, so just before Corbyn, didn't really engage with politics, just a member sitting in the background doing nothing. Very heavily involved in the trade union side, though. So I sat on the European Transport Workers Federation for a few
Oh wow,
years, represented,
nice.
yeah, represented about 500,000 road transport workers under the age of 35 across 41 countries in Europe. So that
Impressive.
was, yeah, it always sounds more impressive than it was. It was mainly arguing with Germans when we were in Brussels, to be honest. But yeah, so that kind of opened my eyes to that. So in 2018, my union asked me to go to Mexico for their general election, and that really opened my eyes. And I think that was probably one of a few life changing moments for me with regard to internationalism and what we do. So it was when AMLO was running for general election,
Yeah.
massive election. So I was over there as a foreign observer. Met some incredible people. It was kind of weird. So I was sort of the only shop steward, I'd say. The rest were all EC members of different unions and general secretaries and a couple of MPs. So I was kind of like, how have I ended up here? But yeah, so after that, 2018 was probably the first campaign I got involved with helping get a councillor elected. Which, for anyone that knows Southport, we didn't have any councillors. We've never had a Labour MP here. So we broke that in 2018. We got the first two elected Labour councillors. And then 2019, I got elected myself, got talked into standing and took another Lib Dem seat out,
Oh,
which
always
I
good.
really,
Always a sweet moment.
absolutely. So my majority was about just over 300 the first time.
It's a big
Stood
swing.
again, like, oh, massive. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, within years, we've gone from being like thirds to winning with decent majorities. So my majority last year, though, was 977. So, and the other councillors haven't managed to replicate that. So I've got a decent sized personal vote in the ward I'm in, which is sort of the most working class ward in the town for
Yeah.
the age. Because the age of the population's wild there. It's I think the highest proportion of over 65s in the country. I think there's only Eastbourne with a bigger proportion, over 85s in Eastbourne, and I think that's just because people in the north don't live to be 85. So it's
Thanks, Thatcher. Appreciate that one.
absolutely. So yeah, getting politicised, it was very much the trade union that politicised me. Sort of taught me in stand, and then was super supportive. We've had really good political officers in the northwest who sort of put their arm around me at the beginning, and yeah, it's been very very supportive. So yeah, and then sort of left my employer in 2020 after a dramatic fallout, and then work in trade union education now. So travel all over the country teaching our reps, and yeah, super rewarding stuff.
Absolutely, must be yeah, must be something that you feel like you're really making a difference. I mean, that's a big thing, especially when you've been working, and we see being able to serve your community is something that's really useful. Just in as of it's really rewarding in as of itself, but to then give back to the people who also then serve their own communities is something bigger even on top of that. So that must, yeah, absolutely. feel very
Absolutely,
worthwhile.
yes. Reversing the chaos Thatcher caused. I'd like to say it as, because yeah, there clearly is such a thing as society, and sort of I think the trade union movement's probably best place to sort of rebuild them links. And it's not perfect. We make mistakes at times, and historically, certainly, it'd be mad to say that we didn't make mistakes during the miners' strike, certainly, and the lack of coming together and working together to fight that government at the time. But, yeah.
But yeah, it's going to be a real, as you say, a real linchpin of trying to rebuild the social contract, trying to rebuild our communities, trying to rebuild the links that we have with each other that kind of been torn apart by like cultural neoliberalism, trying to make sure everything is a market, everything is individualized, collectivism is like a dead ideology, or kind of the Fukuyama kind of the malaise that we kind of live in at the moment. I think young people especially are really feeling that a lot currently. This desire to have community back that just kind of disappeared, especially when all of the benefits of neoliberalism went to kind of certain kind of generational cohorts far more than others. So those who got all the good bits feel very happy with the kind of culture that's built around it, but those who have none of the material benefits and none of the social benefits feel really left out of it. And the trade union's perfect place to rebuild that.
Yeah, I'm not even sure there were any benefits to neoliberalism. I think that's just the sort of ramshacking of the last of the sort of nationalised industries, and the crumbs that fell off the table that went to people who managed to get home relatively cheaply and get mortgages paid off. I don't think. I mean, there clearly is benefits to neoliberalism, as it works for the people it's meant to work for.
True,
but that is not
true.
99% of us. It's designed to funnel money from to them.
Absolutely, 100%. Yeah, you're absolutely right. So, of course, obviously standing as an independent, like, how would you kind of talk about your time specifically within the Labour Party? Obviously, you've been there during the Miliband years, during the Corbyn years, and now obviously, at least partially during the Starmer years. Like, what's your feeling about how you've been, what you feel like your treatment's been like within the party, and how that's changed over time?
I mean, can I swear on here?
Oh, absolutely. You swear like a sailor. It's absolutely not a problem.
I have had the shit kicked out of me for years by the Labour Party. I sort of probably naively bought into the idea of staying and organising and fighting and not letting them take our party for probably a bit longer than I should have done. But yeah, no, my treat. I mean, I was chair of our constituency. I spent a year getting screamed at by people from the right wing every meeting, despite me giving them a platform, letting them speak. Because I knew the minute I shut stuff down, it would be, oh, he's silencing us. But yeah, it's been kind of brutal. So I sat on the regional executive Labour Party. Like, it's not like I was just floating in the background. Even there, it's just silence, kept out. Decisions weren't allowed to be made by members. It's echoing a lot of what we're seeing now at the top of the National Party, which has been going on in the regional party since 2020. And it's, decision making's taken out of the hands of members. You can and can't talk about certain things. It's very draconian, and that's not sustainable, because people, once they don't have a voice, they're going to leave. And if there is an alternative, like a lot of people have gone to the Greens, and potentially people will be back in independence that could turn into something. And I think once there is that alternative, then I think they're done.
Oh yeah, 100%, 100%. Because obviously the supporter base they have, it's broad now, but it's shallow. It's then they're desperately trying to remake themselves into some kind of like broad tent centrist party, which people don't really have buy-in into. Like, it's not offering solutions. It's not offering kind of the fundamental, actual change that people do genuinely want in this country. They want a change from the political consensus that's not really, as you say, it's not really being good for anybody, really and truly, when you look at the kind of the broad scale of things. And so if they don't make those changes, first of all, the coalition's going to fall apart anyway because it's paper thin. But on top of that, if they massively undermine the people who are the lifeblood of the movement, the people from the trade unions, just regular members, people from all kind of different backgrounds who are the kind of the core vote of the party, who are they going to have campaigning? Who are they going to have out there door knocking and canvassing when the going gets tough and they can't just rely on people voting for Labour for no other reason than to get the Tories out of government? They're not going to be able to do that, especially after 5 years of more austerity politics coming from Rachel Reeves and her fiscal rules, etc. So that's a real problem that they're going to have. And of course, I've made that point. I think, well, when they do fail, the far right are going to be there to try and
Yeah.
offer an alternative that we don't want to have. And that's where, people who offer a genuine alternative are going to have to come in. And they can't just rely on being able to spend all this money that they get from new billionaire donors like Gary Lubner or Trevor Chin or whatever to be able to carry them to future electoral victories, unlike what kind of people like McSweeney think that they can do.
Yeah, and I that's you touched on that really brilliantly. That's one thing I keep banging on about. Keir Starmer may be slightly better than the Tories in the short term, but long term, he is absolutely going to be the midwife of fascism in this country. This not delivering for working class people is opening the door for them, and that's partly why I've decided to stand and will continue fighting, win or lose, regardless. I'm not going anywhere. I'm going to keep holding to account and offering people an alternative. But yeah, if we don't fill that space of our politics, then other sort of more malicious forces will absolutely fill that space. And for me, it's worrying that the country is primed for if the far right had someone who was eloquent and actually believed what they were saying, I think that there would be a mass movement around them very quickly. And the left is sort of scattered and sort of broken at the moment. And I don't think we'll be able to sort of react as quick as we have in the past when these sort of forces arise.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, even then, even after everything, clearly we've had a resurgence of trade union activism in the last couple of years. The pandemic's really put things into focus, not only because of the cost of living crisis, but the way we treated quote unquote key workers during the pandemic period has kind of changed people's opinions on the way in which we look at people's, the utility that we have of the social roles that we take up, especially in the world of work, rather than just being cogs in a market machine. We look, well, actually, no, the whole country will fall apart if people didn't go and, actually serve you at the supermarket. These are people who really make the country run. And of course, our political class haven't kind of recognised this. And so, but even outside of that, the trade union membership is still decreasing. And so unless we actually properly find a way of cutting through to people and saying, look, this is where you're going to be able to make those gains, right? The way you're going to be able to fight for the pay and conditions that you need to fix this cost of living crisis. Even kind of liberal types like Joseph Stiglitz was on Question Time talking about, workers need to bargain for better wages. That's how we're going to fix the cost of living crisis. But there's no party out there that currently represents it at all. And again, if people feel like the material conditions collapse, they're going to have to find somebody to blame. And if we don't find a way of marshalling that feeling towards kind of a popular movement towards kind of progressive and emancipatory politics, they're going to want to find a scapegoat to blame. And that's what you've clearly pointed out very eloquently there as well.
Yeah, it's completely batshit crazy to me how people can't see the answers are redistribution of wealth. For some people to be billionaires, there has to be a greater number of other people with absolutely nothing. There's a finite amount of resources. We can't have billionaires and everyone else being okay and getting by. It's also the second side. If everyone's doing a bit better, more people have got more money to spend. That stimulates the economy. This idea that focusing a load of money in people who don't spend it is going to increase productivity or grow the economy is wild. And the Labour Party, we'll invest once there's growth. Well, you don't have growth without investment. You have to invest in public services and infrastructure. Yeah. It's just so backwards. So we're going to be in perpetual austerity while these it's. And again, there's no alternative now. All three of the sort of mainstream traditional parties are occupying the same ground. There's no clear water really between any of them. It's tinkering around the edges. There's not a lot of difference or hope being offered by anyone. It all seems to be, well, I'm not as bad as that guy, or this guy's gonna let all the immigrants in and raise your taxes. It's all just complete nonsense, and yeah, it's pantomime, isn't it?
It really is, absolutely. I mean, that's what's been frustrating watching the election coverage. A lot of my channel is covering electoral politics very specifically, and listening to journalists just asking nonsense questions. It's all just trapped in this Westminster bubble that means nothing to ordinary people on the ground. I mean, there are plenty of people who are still in the Labour Party who I don't even necessarily like, but they cottoned on to this kind of pretty early on. There's a clip I remember from Lisa Nandy during the leadership election go, well, I was talking to people on the ground. They didn't really care what was going on at the top of the Labour Party. They wanted the buses fixed, right? They want the buses to run on time, and they want to be able to. They want to have a bit more money in their pocket and be able to build a life for themselves. Trying to talk about whether or not that there was a certain faction doing what and trying to performatively kick people out to make yourself look like a tough prime minister. That wasn't actually cutting through to anybody. And this is a problem that we have it's as you say, literally a pantomime. And it's got to the point where genuine people who want to get involved in politics are just getting replaced by party apparatchiks, by people from think tanks, people who with connections to like the polling industry, for example. And it's really kind of toxic, like making it completely removed from like the people who should be the lifeblood of politics in this country, which is of the people who are the who have to deal with the results of politics in this country. Because I know that obviously you try to stand as being one of the Labour candidates, right?
Yes, that was interesting. I'll be honest, I kind of threw my name in knowing they were going to do everything to move heaven and earth to keep me off that list because of the support I've got locally. I mean, I think I launched my campaign very early. The minute I put my papers in, my website was live and I was going for it. I had more local endorsers in the CLP than the guy who won actually got votes in the end.
Really?
So they knew that
Wow.
it was not going to be good. And yeah, with my time on the REC and stuff, the regional exec, I was relatively well known in the region. They weren't going to let me through. And weirdly, like when I had 5 trade unions supporting me as well, so I should have been straight through. There shouldn't have been interviews and nonsense.
Wow. 5 endorsements, pretty good. That's pretty good going.
And abroad, I mean, I had Unite Unison, CWU, TSSA, and FBU. So it was
all good ones then.
left and right. I mean, Unison aren't traditionally on the left of like the radical militant trade union side, but they back me as well because I've been a trade unionist for such a long time and involved in workers' struggle. That's always where I've seen my politics comes from that movement. I'm not going to betray that movement. I'm not going to water down the New Deal for workers' rights. Ideally, I think the one thing Starmer ever had to offer me to keep me in and keep me loyal was completely taking the shackles off the trade union movement. We don't need minimum wages and stuff like that. You take the shackles off the union movement and let us do the rest. We can look after ourselves. We don't need politicians to do that for us.
Yeah, and that's not even like a radical proposal. Like there are plenty of countries where like collective bargaining agreements are the way in which we negotiate wages across the economy. Like even in basic like, you know, kind of liberal social democracies like in the Scandinavian countries, no minimum wages, just large scale collective bargaining agreements. I mean, we've all seen like the actions that the Swedish unions took against Tesla when they tried to undermine the European bargaining model. They could just have that. Like it's too busy being watered down. There's too many people with vested interests at the top of the Labour Party, like literal MPs who've been policy advisors for the Confederation of British Industry, who are the people who are trying to get the thing watered down. I'm just like, well, at this point, if instead of being what it should be, like there's an account on Twitter, I think he was running for the NEC, called David Littlefay, runs Labour Beyond Cities, talking about specifically that we need more people from like blue collar careers who should be who should be running for MPs. That's what the Labour Party is there for, to get these people into Parliament to be the voice of their own communities. And instead, we've got people who are just from the professional managerial class who've come up for a career in politics, PPE at Oxford, links to lobbying organisations, and it's a real betrayal of what Labour really should have been and should be all from the start. Yeah.
Yeah, I sat on a panel with Labour Beyond Cities at last year's Fringe event at last year's conference. It was weird. I was sat to my right was Luke Akers. That was such a strange panel to be in. But it was about getting working class people, and they backed me heavily. And I mean, I don't think they're really factional. They don't seem to fit into any faction of the party. It's just about blue collar workers. And I think at the time when I'd announced and they were backing me, they were saying I would have been the 6th person with any sort of blue or pink collar career to have been selected, and then they got blocked me. And to be fair, they went to town attacking the NEC on my behalf at the time. But yeah, so that was a strange part. I mean, when I was asked, "Oh, why do you think you weren't selected as an MP?" I was able to just look to my right and look at Luke Akers and.
Yeah. That's fair enough. Yeah, I can understand that. I mean, things that I was going to make a point there. I forgot what I was going to say now. Oh yeah, even the people who are in blue collar careers, like in the Parliamentary Labour Party, what few there are left, of course, like Angela Rayner, I guess is the most famous one. Like some kind of pink collar, but potato. In the of course, I think that she has kind of betrayed the people who put her in that position. I voted her for to be deputy leader, for example. But even then, I think her heart's still kind of in the right place. She's doggedly kind of fighting against like these waves of attacks against her, and they brief against her in the press constantly. And what they treat her like, rather than like a political actor in her own right, is they're treating her like as being they use her as a vessel with which to try and portray it as being more of a working class party than it isn't, like a John Prescott figure. I've literally compared her to Bez before, because like she's a political, she's a political firebrand in her own right. She's come up through the union movement. She's lived the life. She's done the work. She's done all of the heavyweight campaigning throughout the Labour Party throughout the entirety of her adult life. If somebody knows what the kind of the political movement Labour should be, who has the experience to govern correctly in the interest of working people, it's her. And they treat her like she's just been invited up to the adults table rather than like a genuine political actor. I think it's disgusting.
I agree. It's and you see recently the last week with Faisal Shaheen, Diane Abbott, and all the rest, just how they treat people as sort of political footballs. Let's pretend we're going to suspend them and see how the public reacts. And oh no, we can't do that now. Let's pull back and let them run, or whatever they're doing. It's just using human beings to sort of see what polls well, and that's disgusting. It shows you, if they're willing to treat people they would a few years ago have called comrades like that now, then what are they going to do to the rest of us?
100%, and that's what came across in the focus groups as well. I talked about Navarro the other day, and I think yesterday actually, in the when like more in common did focus groups of like Tory Labour switchers, for example, the kind of people that they're desperate to target by being as reactionary as possible. And when they talk to these people in these focus groups, they're like, actually, even though we don't like Diane Abbott because of all the kind of the media like bullshit that's been spread about her or whatever, or we don't think she's good with numbers from that like one interview one time. And they actually said, well, actually, we looked at what the leadership of the Labour Party did to Diane, and we think it's disgusting. Like, this performative cruelty, this isn't what we want out of an elected prime minister. This isn't something that we desire out of our political actors, even though even though we're the people who you're supposed to be targeting here. Like this, especially this performative flagellation of people who come from like obviously leftist communities, but like minority communities as well, because obviously these were both women of colour as well that were targeted specifically, Faisal Shaheen and Diane Abbott. And it's so, as you say, like testing the waters cynically with people's not just like them themselves, but their political careers too. Like it's full on revolting, absolutely revolting.
Yeah, it's just opportunism, and I think as well this idea that the old red wall seats, whatever you want to call it, I don't like calling it that. I think it's ludicrous, but I think they've got a caricature of what Northern traditional Labour voting people are. It just isn't the case.
Mm-hmm.
I teach all over the country. I work with reps, but reps are kind of broadly representative of their workplaces, certainly, and their communities, and people just aren't like that. People, I think fairness and natural justice and stuff, I think people care about in this country, and the Labour Party just making a complete mockery of that. It's sad. It's sad to see. And I myself, I said bus driver for 16 years. My mum I lost my mum during COVID, but she was like a big reason why my politics come from there. Working class community from the other side of Manchester. On my dad's side, he was a bus driver before me. Ended up going into management in the dark side, but forgive him for that now. And his mum was an immigrant from Ireland. Like, worked for the NHS for like the whole life. She came over as a teenager to work in the NHS. Like, I should be sort of absolute nailed on core Labour vote. They should be able to rely on my vote forever. I think unless there's a dramatic change, they're not getting my vote again. I'm certainly not going to go crying and try and join again. It's over. I could see, probably too late, like I said, but I could see the writing on the wall of how they've just positioned the party to make it impossible that any transformative politics would ever be able to sort of get on the table again there.
And again, because it's not like these policies are unpopular. These are all popular. Like this frustrating thing that we have, where I think that a lot of people on the Labour right, especially, tend to view that the thing that lost Labour the elections in 2017 and 2019 was the idea of, anti-austerity politics, as if, people weren't voting for Labour because they were perceived to be fiscally irresponsible, for example. When actually, when you look at the polling for the policies, that was untrue. Like, things like, obviously, the anti-Semitism smears were one thing, but like people worried about defence policy and the Brexit policy, especially in 2019. I mean, you look at the kind of people who voted Leave. These are the people who were core Labour backbone voters And the person who was the architect of the stupid Brexit policy is now leader of the party, as if this is any change at all for the people in, like, I guess I agree. I think the Red Wall term is bad, but I think post-industrial Britain is the kind of the best way of looking at it. The people, again, who were spurned by the Blair administration, whilst Blair was busy pandering to homeowners who are on 50k by giving them like this all the gains of the economic growth during that period, he was continuing the deindustrialization of these communities. And what it took was like a snap moment for them to go, well, actually, no, we're going to abandon this party because it's abandoned us. And that moment wasn't saying we're going to nationalize industries, or not necessarily saying we're going to have like a internationalist foreign policy. It was, we're going to try and overturn the Brexit referendum that these people supported, because 40, 50 years ago they were all anti-EU. They were in the Wilson camp, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, it's so frustrating because I ran our ground campaign in 2019 in Southport, and I mean, again, like we'll probably get onto it at some point, Labour's 2019 scuppering of that campaign. I saw the resources being pulled out of my seat halfway through, but we delivered the best defensive campaign in Southport. The closest we've ever come to winning with Labour was under Corbyn. Southport's not some militant, radical left enclave, but people see that these policies will make a difference in a post-industrialised town, seaside town, old Victorian shopping place, and an older population where people are genuinely struggling, but would see the benefits of these things. It's alien to me why we would not look at them results in certain places and think, oh yeah, it works. And Brexit was the only thing that really came from the doorstep with a problem. I never heard anyone say it was this idea that, oh, you're doing too much, which I agree. The 2019 manifesto was kind of mad. It was too long. The 2017 one, absolutely perfect.
100%, 100%. I think it's the 2017 election, just they don't recognise that it exists. I've done a lot of looking at all of the different polls, all the different kind of electoral swings that I've seen. I really like, I'm a big data nerd, so I look back through it. And like, all of these post-industrial seats, all of the Labour vote is declining and declining. 2015, I think they lost a lot of seats because there wasn't enough vote split between Lib Dems and Tories in these seats as well, because Labour vote was still declining. The one time where this momentum arrests and it comes back is 2017. That's why it never gets discussed when we look at the history of electoral politics. They don't want to admit in the media, in the Labour right, in broad kind of Westminster political circles, the narrative got changed. Like, we had a 2015 like Labour election when they were talking about their deficit reduction plans, like they were just trying to be David Cameron but slightly kind of nicer version. And in 2017 we go, well, actually no, well, austerity is a political choice. We're not going to do this. You see your schools crumbling. You see the riots on the streets. You see the tearing apart of the fabric of our country. No, fuck this. We're going to rebuild some things. And people bought into that. Like, people obviously bought into the Tories over like other things, like the potential, all the attack lines that they had. But that doesn't mean that the Labour vote didn't go up by huge numbers of, not just percentage points, but the actual voter numbers were way higher as well. And not just amongst like young people who are a big cohort there, but in their traditional voter bases in these post-industrial towns that would have gone Tory otherwise if they'd have carried down the Miliband path.
Absolutely. And in a snap election as well, where I think if there'd been another month there to campaign, that would have gone the other way. It would have been.
Yeah. Labour were ahead in the polls, like in like the months and months after the election. They were ahead in the polls for ages until like European election, like Boris Johnson becomes Prime Minister. European elections happen, and then suddenly Brexit becomes the talk of the town, whereas in 2017, people weren't discussing Brexit. They were discussing public services and austerity in that period. As soon as the narrative changed, EU elections happen, suddenly we're all talking about Brexit again. Boris Johnson comes out with get Brexit done, and the election's already over before it's begun.
Yeah. And I think one thing they had then that they haven't got now is Dominic Cummings. And I mean, I'm no fan of the man as a human, but you can't deny he's an absolute genius at running campaigns. Look at what he's using new stuff, and I dream of having someone like him on the actual left, because that he's very, very good at dragging the narrative to ground where the left and Labour couldn't win, and he did that over and over again.
It's also worth noting as well that he also pulled the Tories left as well on economic policy. I think without the Corbyn moment in 2017, we'd have had like Osborne Hammond politics forever. But Boris Johnson, not really a conservative. He just wanted to be like, he was just a populist who just wanted to get people to like him and was a narcissist, and that's what he loved. It was just like, oh, we'll spend money on the NHS, we'll level up the North. These policies weren't going to come to fruition because he's a liar and he had to rely on Tory votes to hate this shit. But as far as him personally, the campaign he wanted to run, the narrative had been changed in 2017. It was like, no, austerity is a political choice. And Boris Johnson said fuck it as much as we did.
Yeah, I mean, when do you hear politics? I mean, since Corbyn, you're absolutely right. He changed that. It's a dirty word now, austerity. They badge it up with different fiscal rules or stuff like that. You can't use the word austerity anymore because it's people recognise it for what it is. And yeah, I don't think we've quite ever blamed the people who should have been blamed. And I mean, if Labour aren't willing to put caps on bankers' bonuses still, then certainly they've not recognised where the issue is, where people just playing roulette with our economy is mad. So another mad thing is Liz Truss and how she was brought down. Again, I'm no fan of Liz Truss, but it demonstrates where power is in our society. If a bunch of capitalists who no one ever knows, no one's ever elected, can bring down a prime minister, an elected MP, that quickly, it shows that power isn't with those people where we think it is. There are major problems and issues when our entire economy and people's livelihoods can be crippled because of the market responding negatively to people's ideas. And I think we'd be living in a dream world if we didn't think the same thing would have happened if we'd got Corbyn elected. I think the market would have absolutely turned on us straight away.
I mean, I think I'd push back slightly, and I think that John McDonnell in the background, when he was looking at the way they were going to do policy, there's talks about in a biography of him that he was literally in the background talking to people in the financial sector going, no, look, this is our clear plan that we have. This is our investment vehicle. Sure, the debt to GDP ratio might increase. We're using monetary financing of fiscal policy because we're outside the EU now, no Lisbon Treaty anymore. We can do this. This is the people's quantitative easing. I understand you might have a negative reaction, but we have a plan. This is how we're going to grow the economy, which Liz Truss didn't do. So I think I have a little bit more faith that there might have been a little bit of a better reaction because John McDonnell had a clear plan to try and get round that. But even so, you're absolutely right. If they had reacted poorly, that still shouldn't be a reason why that we can just eject a prime minister because of a political pressure coming from the journalists, from the press. Like, interest rates were already going up before the mini budget happened. That's what caused people's mortgages to go up. And Liz Truss was kind of obviously there was the whole problem with the liability-driven investments in the pension funds, which was her fault. But even so, and one last point I'd make is that you talked about blaming the wrong people, as well as obviously like there's the system of capitalism around what we do at the moment. But just in terms of like electoral rhetoric and political rhetoric, you know how people continually blame Rishi Sunak for everything because he's the current prime minister, or they'll blame Boris Johnson because he was just a terrible man. He was an awful human being, but he was just there at the time when things collapsed during the pandemic and because of the war in Ukraine. But they never blame Cameron. They never blame Osborne. When they say, oh, the NHS waiting lists are going up, they're spending more now on the NHS than they ever were over the last 14 years. The person who did the damage, the real damage was done when NHS spending dropped every year as a proportion of GDP from 2010 till 2019. 330,000 people died because of austerity. And yet Osborne and Hammond, they get away fucking scot-free. And now we're all trying to say, well, Rishi Sunak's the terrible one. I mean, really, he's the one who put the most funding into the NHS. I'm not saying I like the guy. I think he's a twat. But, you know, he had to pick up what had already been put down by 9 years of fiscal profligacy under the coalition and under Theresa May.
Yeah, and that's what's so frustrating now, because there's an open goal there for a Labour Party aversion in another dimension somewhere that can actually do transformative things and will win an election because of how bad the Tories are, and probably win an election to a greater extent because they're actually going to offer something rather than it just be the other guys are even shitter. We can be doing exciting things, but there's just no will, and it genuinely worries me about what sort of world we're going to have unless there's a few people who can get themselves elected and hold them to account and attack them from the left, because that's what they need. They need to be held account from the left because they will just get away with it if not.
Oh, you're absolutely right. Yeah, you're absolutely right. Again, we literally have the worst possible Labour leader at the worst possible time. And the worst people, because I actually, I have mixed opinions of Starmer, but at the end of it, he's just an empty suit. He was approached in 2017 by the Labour Together people saying, we'd like you to be our person to hoodwink the left into voting for us come the next leadership election. And he just went along with it. There was actually an article in the Times the other day talking about how he doesn't realise that the people in his leadership team are factional or assholes trying to purge everybody they dislike, Morgan McSweeney being one of them that they mentioned in the article. And Starmer just has so much trust in them, he just goes along with it regardless, because I think when you look at his campaign in 2020, he seemed kind of sincere that he doesn't like the factionalism, but he's just such a political lightweight, so politically unengaged. He subcontract that shit out to the worst Blairite arseholes you've ever met in your life. And here we are at the end of the day where people are deserting the Labour Party in their droves.
I think he's set himself up for a massive issue as well, because the amount of times he's undermined his sort of front bench. Oh, you're frozen there.
I can hear you, but I can't see. I think it's frozen on. Right, hopefully it'll come back in a second. It's frozen on my end as well. Stream is still fine. It's just the meeting that's gone off. I'm sorry, I was just going to catch up with chat whilst we're waiting for that to come back. Listen to some Starmer fans, it's like he's a genius playing 5D chess. Absolutely, the guy doesn't know what he's doing. But yeah, thank you for everyone for tuning in, chat. Obviously, it's something different to what we usually do, but I want to try and do more of these because we need to big up the people who are trying to challenge the narrative. And Sean's been somebody who's done loads of good things, and I want to make sure he gets as much exposure as possible for his campaign. So as long as people are enjoying the content, good. As long as people are happy with the content, then yeah, we'll definitely do this more often because it's been a really great conversation so far. Let me try logging in and out of the meeting. There we go. You're back.
I have no idea what happened then.
Yeah.
So I was just going to say, he's setting himself up for a massive, massive failure, in my opinion. I think he's sort of undermined his own shadow front bench that many times, wheeling him out with messages that he directly contradicts straight afterwards. I think it's not going to be long before his sort of capital with them is gone, and they're sort of having a mass resigning and trying to pop up Wes Streeting unless Leanne Mohammed can.
Oh my god, that was so good. Oh, I have been sober for over a decade now, but if Leanne Mohammed unseats Wes Streeting, I will crack open a cold one. You better believe it. I want to see the back of him so badly, but I think you're right. I think that once he's past his usefulness to them, if his poll ratings start dropping after the election, they're gonna want to replace him immediately with somebody from their faction. Again, probably Streeting, someone from Labour Together. Either way.
Yeah. Oh, maybe we'll see Yvette Cooper do another tour.
Yvette Cooper, honestly, the fact that Ed Balls he's just a daytime TV presenter interviewing people from the Labour Party. People will get mad, rightly so, at GB News from having Tories interviewing Tories, right? That's obviously fucking stupid. But then they won't get mad at the fact that a shadow front bench person's husband, who used to be the shadow chancellor, is presenting a daytime TV show interviewing Ed Miliband alongside Kate Garraway, who's married to someone else from the Labour Party. And I'm just like, what the hell's going on here? But obviously the Liberals only see things through the lens of blue team bad, red team good, and it's difficult to be able to say, well, actually, no, this political machination. This is all bad. This is all bad.
Yeah, I mean, Lammy as well on LBC, just it's so frustrating just to see. There's just no ideas or diversity of thought, and I have no problem with the Labour Party as a broad church, but just don't kick the shit out of the left. Let us have our opinions. I mean, people compare Keir to Blair all the time. I don't think Blair was anywhere near as bad as that. You didn't see Dennis Skinner and Diane Abbott, Jeremy getting deselected and messed around.
Yeah, Claire Short was on the front bench. Exactly. Yeah, you're absolutely right.
There's that space for argument there and debate, but it is the weird thing is that the right now are doing to us what what they accused us of doing to them, which never happened in the years that Jeremy was sort of in charge.
Mm. Exactly. And things with Blair as well is that Blair won the leadership election off of an honest platform. He said, "I'm going to be a centrist to try and to move on from John Smith's like one last push movement. We're going to try and be more centrist, more centre right, more Thatcherite in policy rather than trying to hold on to like a very soft left position." And he won the leadership election sincerely off of that mandate, and then he carried it through. And Starmer doesn't have any of that. It's all lies. It's all political machinations. It was all a deliberate desire to hoodwink the left and then to excise them. It's the most cynical and disgusting thing I think I've seen at least in internal politics, if not like national politics in this country. And yeah, like you're absolutely right. He's also just not like the kind of political as the shrewd political activist that Blair was, or as charismatic at all. And the fact that they kept saying, "Oh, well, Corbyn's going to do a Stalinist purge of all the people of the right wing of the party," that never fucking materialised. That never happened. We tried in vain to build a broad coalition, and they chucked it in our face. To the point at which, as you say, there's room for a broad church. Just don't kick the left out. Like, I was very happy to support Ed Miliband in 2015, despite the fact the manifesto was pretty shit. But I said, there's an inclusive party. We need to this last Conservative government has been the worst government of all time in living memory, really and truly. The austerity coalition. Like, we have to do something about it. And Ed Miliband wanted to bring people together to do that. It failed, of course, but we were very happy to be not part of the decision-making process, but happy to want to build this coalition. And this coalition has been just completely destroyed. And people call us Tory enablers. I'm like, they told us to leave. They told us not to vote for them. They told us they didn't want us to be part of their movement anymore. And so we're not. You can't call me a Tory enabler for doing what we're told to do.
That's something that's obviously been thrown at me over the last few weeks quite often. But I mean, for me, it said you're spot on. They threw us out. They're only upset because we're not just going to sit down and disappear and not engage in politics. We've sort of been politicised by the last 5 years, and that's why I'm standing, because it's important them ideas are still discussed and people have an alternative from the sort of same old same on the ballot. And I'm probably too honest at times. There's some weird and wonderful articles you can find about things I've said in council chambers, about landlords being leeches and stuff like that. But there's clear water between me and the mass amount of people who were on the ballot with me. Plus, I'm the only one from the town who was born here and lived here. So I think that's important, having people understand the constituency's actual problems and struggles, rather than just being thrown in without a clue in the world and then expected to sort of address those issues. I mean, Luke Akehurst in North Durham is just absolutely baffling to me. Like, to go from, I think he lives in Oxford, to
he does, yeah,
sort of North Humber, like Durham, with a traditional working class mining sort of area. It's so frustrating to see local democracy just stripped out and people just ignored what they want. And I think eventually it's going to have a backlash. And yeah, hopefully we see from that a proper, legitimate left-wing sort of opposition, and people with answers to these problems emerge and become more coherent.
And I think that the independent candidates who can do a real job of trying to reconnect politics to its communities. We looked at the outpouring of like outrage and of course support for Faiza Shaheen and Shane Fuller-Wood, because she's from the community. She's built up all of those times campaigning in 2019, like canvassing for the local elections for all what's been happening for the last 4 years, as the presumed candidate who's from the area, who knows people. And people were absolutely outraged when she had the opportunity to run for parliament taken away from her. She absolutely should stand as an independent. And I think in a world where people are too disconnected from Westminster politics, bringing it back down to local voices I know that in Liverpool, the Liverpool Community Independents have done a really good job at trying to get people on board with the people who they know from who they live around. Like Alan Gibbons was kicked out of Labour, and it was like a supermajority, absolutely destroyed his council elections to get himself elected. And they've got Sam Gorst running as independent candidate in Garston as well. So there's plenty of room, I think, for there to be independents who, again, we kept told like the constituency link in politics all the time. One of the kind of the defining reasons for first past the post, and to bring that us back to be something where people will say, well, no, you're offering me something that feels tangible in a way that whatever's going on over in London doesn't make any sense to me. So that's why I think we really truly have a very specific moment right now where everybody hates our politicians to rebuild politics into what it was, 50, 60 years ago.
Absolutely. And yeah, so I've been working with Sam and Alan and Ansan in Wavertree and many others around the country. So the collective, We Are Collectives, the website, it has done brilliant work in supporting us and sort of making sure we know, because a few people I've run in campaigns before at council level and worked on people at general election level, but there are many people who are standing who haven't. This is the first time. They're just rooted in their community, and absolutely probably the right choice to stand in these things. But electoral politics is chaos. The admin and all that stuff is an absolute nightmare if you've not been through it before. So the work that the collective are doing here is absolutely brilliant. And I'll be honest, it's the most supportive I've ever felt in politics, without ever asking anything of me, other than to sort of sign up to 5 pledges that were in the 2017 manifesto that in a heartbeat would have been in any manifesto I created myself. But this, I think, a loose coalition of independents sort of supporting each other and helping each other and making sure you're not feeling just isolated on your own has been brilliant. Like I said, I've never felt the support in politics like I have with this group of people in the collective.
Excellent, excellent. I mean, have you done much? What's it been like hearing people's concerns on the doorstep so far?
So I've not managed to do any canvassing for myself. I've over the years done a lot with the Labour Party, so I'm well rooted in understanding what people's concerns are. My website, I am collecting people's problems and concerns there and promises to vote and do you want a leaflet for me and stuff. And I've had, I wasn't expecting the sort of outpouring I've had on there. So there's plenty of data on people promising to vote, but also what people's issues are. What I do plan to do over the next few weeks is set up sort of assemblies, getting people together from the local community in a few different community hubs and getting them to tell me what they want from me rather than me saying what I'm going to do for you. I very much want to sort of open up that direct democracy, getting them feeding into me. I think these things can be problematic at times because often the loudest voice sort of causes chaos in the room. But I do think once you get communities together, they tend to come up with the right ideas. People know what's best for their community and local area, and I want them to feed into me. There are some fundamental things like economic policies and some of my ideas there, mainly around helping people establish worker and community-owned businesses, because I think that builds in resilience into the local economy. That means if people are invested in these businesses succeeding, they're going to, and if they feel the share of the money generated, that's all the better.
Yeah,
So
and it's
that's
staying.
a big thing.
Yeah. I was gonna. It stays in their communities as well, rather than having all that money shipped off to the shareholders of whatever businesses have been or whatever multinationals working in the area. There's the Preston model. That's super great to hear that that's something you've been specifically wanting to campaign on. But what is your website so I can drop it in chat for people to check out?
Sean Halsall for Southport.uk.
.uk. Let me sure that I have the right address. I do have it. Excellent. Let me get people to check it out on YouTube and over in Twitch. Bro, perfect. No, it's good. Drop the link there for you because again, I wanted to make sure that you have as big a platform as possible because I know it can be hard to get any kind of outreach as somebody who wouldn't otherwise have just been within your personal community. Where can you compare to like the massive political campaigning that you get from being part of a political party? So one of the main reasons why
It has been very different because I've been involved in them, but to be honest, this has been a lot more enjoyable. It's nice just being able to be open about my opinions rather than having to run a press release through 7 people before it can be released. And I think I said being a bus driver in the town for so long, everyone knows my face. It's not as if I'm able to hide into the background with just how I look. I'm covered in mad tattoos and massive beards. Like everyone recognizes me and knows me. So it's sort of I'm well known, and because of that, I think that definitely even people who would be fundamentally absolutely opposed to my politics, vote for me in the local elections. It's really strange. I have like hardcore Tories voting for me just because they know I'm from here and know I live here and know I'm honest and will actually get things done. I think the politics don't really matter as long as you're actually delivering on things and making sure their sort of immediate needs are addressed. I
Absolutely. I
think
think
that that's
people, yeah. I think people tend to view politics kind of, I mean, I think I'm guilty of it too, looking at things, at least on a large scale, very ideologically. And of course, it's worth doing so. But for most actual voters who are busy getting on with their daily lives, they just want to know that you're going to make a positive impact in their life. They just want to know that you're going to fix the things that directly influence them that they think need fixing. It's why, it seems like a real cliche, but it's why potholes are a big thing when it comes to like local elections, for example, because it's a direct result of how the council's getting funded. But of course, you can't put to somebody and say, well, look, it's bigger than this. I've only got so many things I've had access to. Council funding's been cut by 40% over the last 14 years, right? Westminster has failed us. We don't just need to be able to elect people on a local level who can get the job done, because we all agree, people want what's best for their communities, but fundamentally there needs to be political sea change in how we deal with the way in which councils are allowed to have access to funding, which will require access to the biggest kind of political funding, which is obviously all tied up in Westminster. So, but I think you're right in the people are very happy to vote for people outside of their political wheelhouse if they know them and if they have a connection with the community.
Yeah, and people are willing to listen. I think often politics speaks at people rather than listening, and that's when the fascists come in, pretend to listen, and offer weird solutions to these very complex problems. But it doesn't have to be like that. We can get out there, be rooted in the community, listen to people. Sort of, the biggest thing I've loved about my time in the council is sort of working with a local allotment plot, which was completely in disarray when we got involved. They got an amazing chairperson in there who got reached out to us, asked if we could support with some funding for skips and stuff. We got the plots all cleared up. The community there did it. Now every plot's there is filled. There's a years long waiting list, but they've got some community plots there that generated tens of millions of tons of fresh food for the food banks like last year. That's genuinely life changing to so many people. Probably cost us about $5,000 over a 5-year period, which for that amount of food going back into the communities of people who need it, and there shouldn't be food banks, but where there are, I'd rather them need to be addressed by the community ourselves than people going to Tesco and pumping up their profits and dropping it in a bag on the way out, because that is absolutely the last thing we need is companies like Tesco's, Morrison's, etc., making billions and billions in profit whilst contributing absolutely nothing to society.
Exactly. I mean, making bank off of the fact that there is all of these crises going on. Again, there's a direct result of them. There's a direct result of the fact that the price gouging and not properly, therefore, taking any additional profits they gained once input prices went down and passing them on to workers, for example, on top of the failure of the governance of the people who their material interests align with in Westminster. Like, all of these things, there's a real confluence of problems here, and you're absolutely right. Make sure it's community solving community problems. Like, well, again, what we used to have like 60 years ago, when we had like building societies and credit unions. Everything was local. Everything was done with the community in mind, and that's been destroyed after 45 years of Thatcherism. And we can rebuild it. We absolutely can rebuild it. Although one point I would make about community access and the regional Labour Party, I think we mentioned it in DMs in the one of the most disgusting things I think I've seen the Labour Party do was when they revoked access to the CLP bank account for Broxtowe. The regional Labour Party did. We had a community hub in Broxtowe run by our constituency Labour Party, which had a food bank, had all these resources, had all these things for people to access. Again, community hub made a load of sense, and it's had to been shut down because I think it was Therese Cullen who was the councillor who was running it at the time. She just couldn't access the CLP bank account anymore. It had all been revoked. We'd had that's gone. We had our ideal PPC, which was Greg Marshall. He got revoked from the shortlist for being slightly left wing of whatever, I don't know, Pinochet at this point. Who fucking knows how right we have to be selected as a Labour candidate now? And it just shows you, as you say before, like the disdain that regional Labour parties have for the communities that they're supposed to be there for.
Yeah, so we were blocked from donating some money to a sort of migrant CIC, probably I'd call it, a group of people who were trying to support some refugees here. Regional Labour Party blocked us from donating any money there for clothes or food, because that isn't directly to do with campaigning, and you've got to spend money on campaigning. And if we can't support people in the most need in society, what are we doing here? Why are we doing politics if that's no good to spend the money on, but another nonsense leaflet with a shit graph on is a good use of our money and time and energy? It is completely backwards. It's the Labour Party has had its soul torn out.
Exactly. And the words of Harold Wilson, the Labour Party is a moral crusade, or it is nothing. And yeah, that's pretty shit that they're doing that. So I have a prior engagement at 9, so we have to wrap it up now, unfortunately. But again, do you want to shout out yourself, shout out your socials, shout out your website, everything that you want people to know about for your campaign, for everyone who's watching today? So we've actually got a good number of viewers. I think we've got like 160 people watching today. So
okay, amazing. So yeah, my website, Sean Halsall's for Southport.uk. And at Halsall Sean on Twitter /X. And yeah, everything else you can find through there. That's fine. But no, thank you so much for having me on, Helena. It's been an absolute pleasure talking.
no, it's been great having you on as well. I mean, as somebody who's essentially been kind of, I mean, pretty new to the kind of trade union movement over the last kind of 5 years or so, who, I mean, new to kind of political campaigning. Like I only really got involved in Labour for the 2019 election. In 2017, I was just somebody who supported it in kind of from a kind of at arm's length, because I believed in the project, but not because I was like in with the party. But ever since that kind of moment happened, I've been reeled in further. Getting somebody who's got so much experience, who's put so much work in, who's done all of the hard yards to be able to come out here and say, well, look, this is the kind of the plan that I have because of the experience that I've gained and because of my interaction. I mean, like the fact that you've gone over to Mexico to help with with the election campaigns over there, for example. Like these are the kind of you are the people like you are the kind of people that we need front and center of our politics. So I just wanted to make sure that you had a way to kind of have that platform elevated on my channel. So I appreciate you coming on.
No, I massively appreciate that, mate. Thank you so much.
No problem. Take care. See you later.
Bye-bye.
That was great. I really enjoyed that. I hope everybody in chat was happy with that. Scribby with a £5 super chat. Do you think that this version of Labour would have won in the 2019 election? Sorry for the rhetorical question. I mean, this type of Labour might have backed Brexit. I don't know whether they would have won or not. Probably not. I don't think they would have won. It might have been a hung parliament, but I think the real problem would have been that if Keir Starmer was leader, he'd be the one wanting a second referendum. And if they just still run on a second referendum policy, they still absolutely would have lost in the same kind of a way. Maybe not as badly because of all the other Corbyn baggage at the time. But I think that if it was just Starmer as leader or whatever in 2019, running on a second referendum platform, Boris's plan to be get Brexit done and level up the north and invest in hospitals versus continuity austerity, Johnson would have wiped the floor with whatever kind of centrist melt brigade would have done, even with there being sensible adults in the room or whatever. But I don't know. It's all kind of pretty retrospective. Let's see if Kev's ready. Where is... Oh, Kev will be on Discord, that's why. Because he's been banned from Twitter. Nor is Effie hungry. The full stream should be up on... I'll make sure that it's free to view on YouTube. It's election season, so I've already said that I'm going to ensure that all of my streams are free to view on YouTube during election period. So if you go to my live stream archives on YouTube, Effie, you'll be able to watch the whole interview from there. Why did you get banned? I forget. I'll ask him when he comes on because I've already forgotten. But yeah, everyone make sure you go follow Sean. Make sure you go get up his mailing list on his website. Make sure that you're all getting in touch with him and following him on all of the socials because, well worth doing. And then we've got Shaman Rahman from the Greens coming on Thursday as well before question time. So we've got another... So that the Shaman is the one who we're going to be canvassing with next weekend. Actually, this is going to be news to people. So I am going to organise a canvassing event. Next Saturday, we're going to be campaigning for the Greens in Leicester South for Shaman Rahman. And we're going to be, if you want to join the Discord, everybody, I'll drop the link for the Discord. I've got a tab in the Discord for our canvassing plans. So people who are from the Midlands or who are not from the Midlands but feel like travelling for ages. Shaman was the one who got kicked from Labour for liking an Aaron Bastani tweet, which is the Green PPC for Leicester South now, running against Jonathan Ashworth. So we're going to be campaigning for Shaman in Leicester to try and get her to at least take away some of Jonathan Ashworth's majority. I think it's going to be difficult to overturn the majority, but it's going to be worth campaigning. Like I spend a lot of my time. Talking in arm's length, just sitting in my chair, and I'm like, no, fuck it. I'm not going to sit around and just be someone who talks at my screen all day and think that's political activism. We need to go and get out and campaign and try and canvass for people. So we're going to do some canvassing events in Leicester next weekend on a Saturday if people are able to get down for it. Because Ashworth is one of those part of the. Obviously he's banging Emily Oldknow, who was one of the people from the coup. So we're gonna try and do some canvassing and try and put words into praxis. Try and put things into practice, rather. Sorry. Any chance you could play Things Can Only Get Better by D-Ream using the awesome guitar behind you? I do not know how to play it, unfortunately, and it's a bass, unfortunately, not a guitar. But I don't know how to play it, sorry. But thank you for the £5 super chat, Ian. Appreciate you. Yeah, Ashworth's been miserable ever since he essentially backed keeping universal credit when he was Shadow Secretary of State for Department of Work and Pensions. Like, what an absolute scrote. So hopefully we'll try and knock down his majority, because Leicester South is one of the kind of seats where the Greens are getting 20% of the vote. So under MRP anyway.
Hello.
Hi Kevin, how you doing?
I'm very well. How are you?
I'm not doing too bad. I'm not doing too bad at all. Just had a lovely chat with one of the independent candidates over in Southport. He was great. Had a really, really good conversation. I think chat enjoyed it as well. So I'm pretty good mood. Because that was the kind of content that I would love to have done more of, but I needed to have the platform to be able to do, and now I've got it, so I'm using it. So
awesome.
How about you?
Okay, well I have to give that a watch because I wasn't able to. I was setting my thing up. But yeah, we're just waiting for Viv, who's the whole reason that she wanted to do it, and now she's fucking late.
Also, by the way, speaking of which, I messaged you on Discord, but I think you must have been busy at the time. But I don't know if you saw, but what we're planning to do next Saturday is organise some canvassing in Leicester South for the Green Party. So people who are in the Midlands might be able to come down for that, to go out and do some canvassing for this. So it's Shaman Rahman. She was kicked out of the Labour Party for liking an Aaron Bastani tweet, of all things.
Wow.
And now she's the PPC for the Green Party in Leicester South against Jonathan Ashworth, who really needs to get a run for his money. And that's one of the seats on their MRP polling that the Greens are on 20% at the moment. So I thought it was worth doing, since it's close in the Midlands, I guess, sort of, to try and see if people want to come down and canvass. And if you want to come with, or anyone in your audience does, but that's a thing. I don't know if you wanted to do it or not.
I don't know. I'd have to think about it, I think, because I mean, I've got no problem with it in principle, and Leicester is close enough. It's it's fucking hour on the train or whatever. See, because I'm a hipster prick, this is the problem. Do I want to be necessarily associated directly with a political party in the way that would then potentially compromise criticism? Or would I feel the necessity to not criticize as much? I don't know. I have to think about it. Forgive me. This is a problem with the left, like herding fucking cats.
True.
I should just say yes and just do it, right? But it's never as simple as that. God damn it. Okay. Yeah.
No, that's fair enough.
Yeah. Yeah, I might do. I'll get back to you on that. But that's I mean, it's a good idea in general, and I hope that Ashworth does get done because he's a fucking melter. But
He is
yeah.
an absolute meltoid, yeah.
And there are several that are. Jesus Christ, the Labour Party is dog shit. Where the fuck is Viv? This is the don't work with children, animals, or Viv. That's the thing.
But yes, if people are on, I mean, obviously we share a massive audience, but if people in, I don't know if people in your audience, if they want to, I've got, there's a channel in my Discord, so if people do want to get involved, more details come in soon for people who want to come down on Saturday next week to come and canvass, if that's people's things.
Can't hear you at the moment. Fucking ads. Viv, just hit the fucking link. I don't care about the camera. I'm not going to put you on fucking camera. It's gonna be we can watch a video and stuff. Jesus Christ.
Also, by the way, chat are asking why you got banned from Twitter.
Why I got banned from Twitter.
Mm.
Okay. It's a long story that might involve Brianna Wu and her people coming after me so that she doesn't have to debate me because I called her out publicly. But also possibly because I said that the Prime Minister should play Roblox live on the One Show.
Play Roblox.
That is a euphemism to get around terms of service.
That makes perfect sense.
Because I mean, look, it's a two part to my thinking on this. Firstly, who doesn't want to see Rishi Sunak commit Roblox? And secondly, it would be the only entertaining thing that's ever been on the One Show.
Oh, that's the second entertaining thing that's happened on the One Show. Because you've got to remember, it was on the One Show where that fucking guy from Blue Peter asked David Cameron how he sleeps at night, which was a great moment.
Yeah. No, to be fair, okay, you know what? I'll take that back. The second.
Yeah.
Funny thing. That's the thing. That show's only worthwhile if Tory prime ministers are being humiliated and/or ceasing. That's the only.
God, I love seeing Tory prime ministers humiliated.
Is that a kink thing, or I don't know?
Might be. It actually might be.
Fair enough. Yeah.
Also, by the way, just one sec, Tiffany, I am reading chat. It's just difficult for me to be able to interact with both chat and people who I'm interviewing and/or in a conversation with at the same time. But do not worry, I am looking at and reading messages, so don't worry, I am paying attention to chat.
Senpai notices you, okay? Just calm down.
Are you interviewing us, or are you?
I'd interview with a parliamentary candidate just before you jumped in.
Who was that?
Sean Halsall from Southport.
Oh yeah. Some Green Labour.
Independent. Someone who left Labour to stand as independent.
Mm. Why did he leave Labour?
Because they're shit.
Yeah, because they're shit. He put himself forward for the shortlist and wasn't selected, even though he had a bunch of union nominations. I thought five union nominations, so like clearly had huge support from people who should be able to have buy-in with the Labour Party, but not under Sir Keith. Oh no! Having union nominations mean nothing. What you need to have is connections to the lobbying industry. That's all that matters in Keith's Labour. It's changed Labour Party.
Trade unions maybe don't get out of the cuck chair. If they're going to keep fucking you like that, maybe don't pay them millions of pounds.
I mean, that's true. The Labour, the unions who continue giving loads of money to the
like, why would you do that? Why would you do that? That's ridiculous.
Well, anyway, got money lying around. Well, no, I've got to give it to somebody, right?
Give it to me. In the form, it's helpful because I'm on a hype train. So if the trade unions want to fund me to the tune of millions of pounds a year to not do anything for them, I won't actively pass legislation against them. So instantly, it's a better investment for them. You know.
I would say organise some fucking strikes and pay some wages.
That would also be
create more. And you were talking about it before, Kev, when we were discussing the trade union movement. We were talking about how unions need to go back to being kind of community hubs for people, having having the union credit union or having like the union food bank or whatever. That's exactly what union political funding should be for. Yeah.
In the vacuum where the central government are retracting from. It's not good that that's generally happening, but that is an opportunity for the trade unions to step in and become an actual hub for their local communities. It's good in general as a sort of socialist policy point, and also it would be a fantastic way of further entrenching trade unionism in places where it's basically dried up because the jobs are gone.
The industrialization,
Yeah, it's a winner all around, and you could save. You could take the money that you shouldn't be giving to the Labour Party because they don't fucking deserve it, and giving it to people in places that actually need it, as
But
well
it's really
as, like I say, it's securing the future of trade unionism in the country.
And it's funny watching Sharon Graham like continually having her wallet inspected. Just like the Labour New Deal for working people cannot be watered down. We've met with Sir Keith and everything's fine now. A week later, it's got more holes in it than Swiss cheese. Sounds like you've been played, mate. Sounds like you've been sold a bridge.
Yeah, a little bit.
Magic beans.
True. Yeah, and well, on that point, hang on, where were we? Yes, I mean, before we get on to the main topic of tonight, which is laughing at middle-aged dad's wank material, I guess. I don't know.
Oh, fun.
He has a name, but we'll get to that. The kind of main highlight of today's proceedings in the general election trial was the fact that Keir Starmer that we're just going to be in a fucking Tory, David Cameron, Tony Blair circle of death to the end, basically. Wealth creation is our top priority, says Sir Keith. Appeal to aspirational middle class.
It's
David Cameron Hell World. That's all that exists.
Prime Minister for life, David Cameron. You do not have a choice.
Exactly. That's literally it. This is the guy who's the head of the Democratic Socialist Party. Fuck off. Wealth creation. Like,
Thing is,
it doesn't mean good paying jobs for working people. It means rich people getting richer.
that's what's frustrating, right? I mean, again, it goes back to what we were talking about between the difference between making the bottom, rising the bottom up, right? Creating working class emancipation where, rather than trying to divide people amongst classes and giving people social ability to move out of working class into being a middle class or whatever, it's that we make sure that we rise all the boats. We make sure that no matter what job you do, no matter how, because they're all integral to our society, you get all of the basic standards that, even if basic, having good standard, rather. We're one of the richest countries in the world. We should be able to afford our working class people with, the luxuries that they should have access to and the material wealth that we've created, rather than shoveling it into the pockets of billionaire oligarchs and, creating this class divide between the haves and the have-nots and the have-nothings, for example. And that's, again, because wealth creation is fine as a goal, but that should be for everybody. That should be a broad base rather than just trying to pick winners and losers amongst those who become artisan pizzeria owners in, like, fucking Bolton or whatever, rather than having better wages for everybody, better conditions for everybody, having a lucrative welfare state, having, unionized workplaces where we collectively bargain to ensure that everyone can afford to go on holiday, everyone can afford to raise a family. And that's what's
Unions
frustrating.
are part of the hard left, I'm afraid, now.
Trotskyists, yeah. And on top of that, it's just that we can have community wealth building. We can literally build wealth in our communities, and that would be fine. But this market fundamentalist neoliberal bullshit that the Starmer Brigade are obsessed with pushing is just about individual wealth. Like, just say we want to create wealth for communities, and I think people would buy into that. But the people who he's trying to appeal to in terms of who funds him, they don't want that shit, because that takes away their fucking power.
Yeah. Oh, apologies. You caught me mid-meal there.
It's just so frustrating. Sorry to I'm mad about this, but it's just a betrayal of what the Labour Party should stand for. It really is.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Tony Blair wank shit.
It really is. He so wants to get the band back together for some new Labour bullshit.
It's worse than Tony Blair. That's the problem.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it really is. So this was from 8 days ago. Now, Viv, you specifically contacted me on the Discord. I'm going to follow me on Discord and said, "Do you want to do a stream taking the piss out of Supertansky?"
Now, I don't think I put it in exactly those words, but yeah, I want to.
No, you were actually much harsher than that. I've cleaned it up.
Was I? What did I say?
I can't remember, but and also it's possibly TOS.
I want to watch some Supertansky with you and tear her a new one.
Yeah, there you go.
obviously TOS. Obviously, look, I was a little bit pissed. Okay, because we had this little mini interaction on Twitter, and she was just like very fucking condescending.
Well, let's get into that. What happened there? Because I'm not on the Twitters anymore. Because
she's blocked me now, so she's blocked me now, so it's an ass to fucking bring up. But
do you not have a memory that works functionally or not?
What I'm saying is, oh shut up, Kevin. I do have a memory. Yeah.
Well, you that then and tell us from that what happened.
Well, so look, Supertansky's been pushing for a long time now the whole Stop the Tories tactical voting campaign, right?
Yeah.
Because she really fucking hates the Tories. And on that, like on hating the Tories, I can super get on board with just hating the fucking Tories, right? What I can't get on board with is this red team, blue team bullshit where you just like assume that red team's gonna somehow be a lot better. I think in one of her videos, because I watched a few of her videos just to like beforehand, because I was just like, I want to make sure I'm like poking in the right direction here. But like she says she would rather have like, she'd rather at least have a change and maybe it could be better, you know. And I think there's a lot of reasons to think that actually like rewarding the Labour Party with power for what they've done and not stacking up a massive protest vote is actually extremely dangerous. Just being so scared of the fucking Tories that you're willing to give up on ever having any kind of like significant progressive politics in this country.
Because you give them a giant mandate, a giant carte blanche, whatever they want, with dictatorial power. With like, what's it like? Yeah. They're projected to get like 470 seats or something. It'll be the biggest majority, literally in British history.
It's going to be insane. Yeah, I don't see them getting anything other than a landslide. I think the second video of Supertansky's, I think. She's arguing against Owen Jones saying the same thing, that like Labour are going to get a landslide, and she's like, "Well, Tories rely on complacency or whatever." I'm sure we'll get to that. And you know, it's not 100% in the bag yet, but I think it pretty much is 100% in the fucking bag. The question is, in my view, how much of a bloody nose can we give Labour along the way, so that they can't just say, "Oh, we have this complete mandate," or at the very least, right? Like even that seems out of reach, honestly. But at the very least, like boost up some independent parties and the Greens and what have you. You know, actually have some progressives there, because there are so few progressives in Labour, and the ones who are in Labour don't really have much of a voice, right? Like they're pushed to the back benches, and if they ever speak up, then Keir Starmer will find a way to eject them from the party.
Exactly. Again, it's short-sighted, politically illiterate nonsense from these people. All they know is somebody told me tactical voting is good. I have people condescending to me in my fucking TikTok comments saying, "Oh, you're just politically stupid. You don't know what tactical voting is. You don't understand first past the post." I understand it perfectly fine. I'm a professional political commentator. I understand it better than you fuckers in my TikTok comment section. Don't patronise me. You're going to give Keith Stonger a gigantic dictatorial majority to push anti-trans policies. Fuck you. I'm not voting for him. I'm not voting for anti-trans, pro-austerity, like pro-Israel politician. I'm not fucking doing it. And these people are just, again, I understand where it comes from. They're burnt by the Tories. They fucking hate the Tories. The whole country hates the Tories. Opinion, right?
I fucking hate the Tories. Several of my friends have died under Tory rule because of Tory policy. You know, well, obviously I hate the fucking Tories.
I hate the Tories, which is why I'm not voting Labour.
Exactly, and that's exactly right. And the thing is that they keep saying things like, "Oh, we'll just put Keir into power and we'll be able to hold them to account." How? How the fuck are you going to hold somebody with 300 seat majority? 300 seat majority. You're not going to hold them to account.
And he's ejected anybody who would fucking stand up against him anyway. He said quite clearly, "Oh, you don't like this Labour Party? There's no fucking place for you here." You know,
exactly.
Sorry, go.
And that's because you can't hold them to account in the party either, because all of the internal processes for holding these people to account, it's all gone. It's all fucking gone, right? All
Yeah.
there is just, the Tony Blair Institute and Labour together set all of the policy. The members fucking like it or lump it. Unions don't get to say either. They get kicked out of the NPF dinner for not getting the policies that the membership want that the unions also support. There's no method to hold them to account whatsoever. Like the opinion. So they're a pollster, and they always take into account electoral tightening in their polls. So they've never really seen a lead for Labour of more than 14 points because they assume a certain number of don't knows will vote Tory, and then they make that part of their polling. Even opinion have Labour with a 20-point lead, which is, that's a 200-seat majority at that point. Like, then that's like the most likely result. The MRP results are even more likely to be true from what electoral calculus, and that's the 300-seat majority. Like, it's just vacuous nonsense to try and say that you're scared of the Tories winning because
Also, just on a basic point, I've always sort of been of the opinion, even when Labour weren't great under like Miliband or even Brown or whatever, like I'd still prefer them to win. Like it'd be good if they keep the Tories out on the basic sort of like harm reduction theory, right? The idea that even if they're shit, they're going to be far less shit,
Sure.
And they'll probably do some peripheral stuff that's actually quite good, and that's nice. But with Keir Starmer's Labour Party, how is that even the case? What harm is being reduced exactly? I fail to see how they actually are going to be fundamentally.
If I can be super reasonable and charitable here, I think there are some decent policies that the Labour Party put forward.
Go on. I'm all fucking ears. Go on.
Well, the thing is, they're all half measures compared to what was originally promised, right? But they're still like steps. So, a publicly owned energy company could be a really good idea, for example. Right.
It's not that. It's not that though. That's the issue. Is that they've lied. We now know they explicitly lied because Keir Starmer, because it's now election season, he can't lie anymore. When he was pressed on saying, "What about this energy company? It's not going to be an energy company." It's like, no, it's not an energy company. It's an investment fund. All of their campaign material has an energy company. All of their campaign material has it's an energy company on it. Ed Miliband was doing TikToks today, saying they're going to create a new publicly owned energy company, and Starmer knows that's not true. It's a deliberate fucking lie, and the public are all bought into it. It's their most popular policy at this point, after they scrapped the £28 billion green energy fund, which I guess has been kind of taken over with GB Energy in terms of the political space. I'm just like, these people are going to feel like they're going to be burnt so badly and feel like their entire wallet's going to have been inspected when Starmer wins and is not what they think that he's doing.
Okay, but okay. All I'm saying, right, if I want to be super charitable, you might be able to say that Labour might be slightly better than the Tories, right? At the very least, Labour seems to have slightly less frothing at the mouth, bloodthirsty fascists among its ranks, right? I'm hard pushed.
I didn't realise this was the fucking Viv Wolf shit lib hour. Jesus,
I'm not doing the Viv Wolf shit lib hour, okay? Just hang on for half a fucking second, all right? Allow me to get to fucking what I'm... Okay, so even if you accept this premise that Labour could be ever so marginally better than the Tories, right? The problem is, do you want ever so slightly marginally better than the Tories or outright fascism? Like, is that what you want? Is that what you want the Overton window in the fucking country to be, right? Because my argument has been, and has been for a long time, that I won't vote Labour because I don't want to live in a one-party fucking state where the only option is conservatism or where the options are conservatism or outright fascism, right? Like, I don't want to live in that fucking country. I think that is straight up the death of democracy, the disenfranchisement of like 70% of the fucking country, right? Because even if you're not like a fucking straight up socialist like I am, a lot of people are progressive. A lot of people liked that Jeremy Corbyn manifesto, for example, not shilling for Jeremy Corbyn, because that manifesto is also Keir Starmer's manifesto that he ran on for the leadership campaign, right? But like, progressive policies are very popular. So if you don't
I won't have it. Keir Starmer is still making the ethical case for socialism, god damn it.
Okay, sure. But if you don't want to live in a country where the Overton window is narrowed to Tory donor-backed conservative Labour MPs, to raging, foaming at the mouth fascist Suella Braverman, Priti Patel, Kemi Badenoch, fucking whatever, right? If you don't want that, then you can't reward Labour with power, because all that will do is solidify in their minds the idea that this is the only way that Labour can win an election, right?
Yeah.
And so the Labour Party never fucking changes. There is no progressive alternative to Labour and the Tories, and we're just stuck. We're just stuck in a conservative Britain, which is what we've had for the last 14 years, right? I think it's reasonable to argue that Starmer's like further right than like Cameron.
He's David Cameron. It literally is just David Cameron. Yeah,
right.
I think,
but like,
I have some. I think I would push back slightly. So in Rachel Reeves's May's lecture, I think it was clear, I think, that Rachel Reeves is somebody, because I've read a lot of her writing. I've read a lot of her writing from out through the Corbyn years, throughout the Ed Miliband years, and she is more left-wing than the current policy platform that she's put on. But the one who controls what kind of policy that they're allowed, it's not even Rachel Reeves, even though she's the Shadow Chancellor of the Exchequer. It's Morgan McSweeney, it's Pat McFadden, it's the electoral strategy people in the background going, no, you're not allowed to raise taxes. She was talking about capital gain tax increases just 2 years ago. Like, it's not like it's recent times, not just me quoting from 2010 like I did when I called her up on the LBC. It's clear that the people who are people who have control of the machinations of the Starmer Politburo, who have all the strings being pulled here, and again, it's just frustrating that it doesn't even need to be continuity Cameronism, but it's the way in which they perceive they can only win an election by essentially kowtowing to every right-wing canard, and that is entirely the result of the absolute fucking the real, like, genuinely rancid people in the background, in the shadowy backgrounds in the halls of Labour together.
And on social policy, when we start looking at some of the things that are being said about immigrants, about trans people, about Gypsy Romani traveller community, like when the Tories were saying this 5 years ago, Myrie Black stood up in Parliament and gave her speech about the warning that we were sleepwalking into fascism, right? And now the Tories are much further right than they were then, and Labour are in that same fucking position, in my view.
I agree.
Yeah, they're far enough right that they're like flirting with fascism, or at least fascist rhetoric, in order to appeal to and appease these the Tory voters, the floating Tory voters that Starmer wants to bring over to his side, the Tory donors that he wants to bring over to his side, and of course the red wall up in the north, which Keir Starmer from his Westminster bubble sees as a bunch of knuckle-dragging, drooling racists that he has to somehow appease by throwing them some immigrant meat, right?
It's so tilting that both Conservatives and Liberals both believe that the working class, especially in the north, they all believe it can entirely be represented by a turning point, Greg's meme. It's just that Liberals think it makes them uncultured idiots, and Conservative makes it think that they're noble savages, when that's just not true. Like, these are smart, intelligent people who have loads of different, like a plurality of all these different viewpoints who are worth so
the
much
SNP wouldn't have done
society.
so fucking well in Scotland if this was true. Right,
exactly.
Like the culture between Scotland and York is not that much, is not that far removed from each other. Do you know what I mean? Like, so, there is a plurality of views in the north, and there's a lot of fucking racists in the north. There's a lot of fucking racists in the south. But
except Brummies, we are scum. That is true.
Well, exactly, because people try to claim, like, of course, I think that Yorkshire probably is more racist than like Lancashire, for example. That's where BNP stronghold was, Yorkshire, for example. But like people say, because I mean, the Red Wall, quote unquote, post-industrial towns that we were talking about earlier, is that like these were people who didn't abandon Labour because they were too progressive or too woke. It was fucking Brexit. It was Brexit and deindustrialisation that made them drift away from Labour, especially in 2019 and before 2015, for example, during like the Blair years. And they just can't understand it. They just can't understand that people just hate having the soul sucked out of their communities and having democracy the democratic vote that they supported being undermined by somebody who's supposed to be their core voter base. Yeah, of course they were pissed off, but it wasn't because they voted. They didn't just hate immigrants or anything. It wasn't because they were racist or anything. It's so reductive the way people talk about the Red Wall as if they're just knuckle draggers that you can throw red meat to. It's so insulting.
Yeah. It's bigoted. I'll say that straight up.
It's classism. It's literally classism.
Yeah, I mean it's classism, but it's also just general bigotry, right? Because we've had centuries of the North being fucking deprived, right? Deprived of resources and so on. And it's like any classism that you can engage in towards Northerners only really kind of fucking exists because you've deprived them of resources for hundreds of years, right? Like that's why the class divide exists between North and South. Like,
exactly. I think good points being made by Vicky in YouTube chat as well about the fact that a lot of these constituencies also trend older, again because of deindustrialization. There are no jobs left in Grimsby and all these kind of places. Yeah, they've just moved into the young people who've grown up there have moved out and never going back because they've found jobs in university towns.
Off to Manchester, right?
Yeah, I've had this giant demographic shift, and this has created a real kind of split voter base. What's interesting, I was looking at the electoral calculus find out now MRP poll today for the Daily Mail GB News. And going into some of the data, do you know, well, obviously there are graphs that I've seen about this too, but interesting to look at in terms of raw data form. There is no difference. When you break down by social class in the polling information, there is no different in the voting patterns. In under no party really changes A1, A2, like B, C, D, anything like that. At no point does it ever change how people vote. It's almost uniform across the board because class differences have become replaced by like this demographic shift and age differences and things like that. It's a really weird dynamic that we've got going on.
Yeah.
Anyway,
but,
Super
according to Super Tansky, Labour and Tories are the same. Nah, mate. Apparently there's a huge difference, and I can't wait to hear what she has to say about that.
One point before we start, it's very funny. In her latest video, she called me out, but not by name.
Oh well, hang on a minute. Whoa! Why aren't we watching that now then?
No, it's not interesting. But the video is interesting. But it's a funny story. Just somebody tagged me in her Instagram comments, moaning that I was vote splitting and I was going to cause a Tory victory, and that's not true. And then I just laughed. I just said, no, you just like child poverty when the red team do it, and he got mad at me. But then Super Tansky also responded to the person talking about me by saying, I don't interact with No Justice MTG because I think her illogical nonsense isn't worth responding to or whatever, something like that. And I responded by saying, no, you don't respond to your critics because you're a political lightweight. We saw you in debate with Dan Hodges. Like, it's a throwaway comment. I didn't really give a shit. But then she said in her latest video that somebody called her a political lightweight, and I'm just like, oh, well, there you go. Finally, Senpai's noticed me.
Oh wow! Well, the girls are fighting.
Absolutely.
Handbags
at dawn.
She thinks much more highly of herself than because she is part of the whole tactical vote campaign. She's like runs that. I don't even know what kind of fucking input she has into that website, but her picture's on it alongside of a whole bunch of other fucking people. So like, obviously somebody thinks she has some kind of fucking weight, and she has a small YouTube channel of like 35,000 followers or something, right? Like I can't remember how many it is, but I think that's what it was when I looked this morning.
She's definitely carving out a niche for
like,
in the kind of centrist online space. Yeah,
exactly. But if you're gonna fucking do that, like you're gonna need to. You have two options, don't you? Really, either you're bright enough to be able to slap down criticism, or you're a fucking dipshit and you just block all criticism. So,
and again, like she literally, and then like she responded to my response to her by just giving me like the kissing emoji, and I was just like, yeah, well, you said you didn't want to respond to me, and you didn't. You know, fair enough. You cashed the check that you'd written. Makes sense. Whatever. Like I didn't really think that much of it, but it was just kind of funny interaction. Also, thank you UV Power for the £5 super chat. I hate neoliberalism but love fried chicken. True. This is definitely the anti-neoliberalism pro fried chicken channel you've come to.
Yeah.
Dystopia warning. There's still a need for a dystopia warning because we're not out of the woods yet, are we? No, we are on day 2 of the general election campaign 2024. Not a lot's really been going on today. Nah, it's been mostly over the past few days the main party leaders giving their initial speeches in which they repeat one word over and over and over again until we believe it. And it's also been them going out and gradually, tentatively, you know, like an animal emerging out of its burrow after hibernation, interacting with the general public. Yeah, Sunak's been a bit awkward, hasn't he? A lot of people are saying that's because his software got damaged in all the rain. And you've also got to, in fairness, take into consideration the fact that he's deeply allergic to poor people. Yeah, he's not usually allowed near them. And because he's now running on basically what is effectively Windows Vista, he's gone back to his old factory settings as a Tory robot, which is just to kill all the poor. That's why he's not allowed to interact with, you know, normal members of the public, and he has to only converse with Tory plants in the crowd, you know, like those councillors that ask him
frustrating, if you
questions,
pause.
pretending to be.
And again, like obviously the Rishi Sunak automaton stuff is, you know, whatever, like it's memes, whatever, we're all used to it at this point. It's just frustrating to listen to the kind of criticisms that they have of the Tories as if they're just evil for the sake of evil. Again, you know me, everyone in chat knows it because I say it all the time because I'm a boring fucking Marxist, but I'm just like, at no point do they ever engage in material analysis. Ever. They can't understand why the Tories are the way they are, why they're bad, why the vested interests do what they do, which is why they can't criticise Labour, because the vested interests are the same people now because of the donations that they get. And this is what frustrates me. They just go, you know, Rishi Sunak bad automaton lol, but he's also he's too busy killing poor people. And whilst that is true, he is busy killing poor people. Like, why have we got to this point? What's the material relationship between the Conservative Party and the general body politic that allows them to do that and run on that, and why they want to do it? Because I don't think they necessarily take joy out of killing poor people.
He's intrinsically evil. That's all it is. The devil got him. Yeah.
Normal people. We're also in a period called wash up, which is a term that a lot of Tory gack dealers will be familiar with. In political terms, it's them, I don't know, trying to get through the laws they want to get through or some shit. Anyway, I'm making this video today because within moments of the general election being called, people were like flooding my DMs, right? And it's the very similar kind of theme to what I get in comments under most of my videos. I just want to say first and foremost that I can't answer all my DMs. I'd go mental, more mental. I'm the captain of my own ship and I run a pretty loose ship. I just want to go through some of the main themes that I get, and I'm sure you can guess the kind of messages that I get. You know, not knob shots, no. They know better than that because I would contact their employer and their mums. So the first response
Honestly,
is,
the
I
most
don't like
base
his
thing
stuff.
she says in the entire video, by the way.
Right?
Honestly, the most based thing she says in the entire video, by the way.
True.
You send an unsolicited knob shot, I'm sending it to your mum.
Although that's the first time I've ever heard. Is that a southern thing that somebody calls it a knob shot rather than a dick pic? That's not a term I've ever heard used before.
Yeah, no, me neither, actually.
Yeah.
I'm quite southern, so yeah.
Also, I was want to point out, sorry, there was another super chat. Vicky Clee, please talk to Lewis about my canvassing session next week. Lewis, if you'll jump in the Discord, I've created a channel for the canvassing stuff. There'll be more information there. Obviously, after the stream, people might get involved more often. So if you do want to jump in and get involved, all the information will be down there. But it's next weekend. That's the long and short of it. Sorry, continue.
No, and of course, if you wanted to, you can. It's got nothing to do with canvassing, but you can also do super chats and memberships and all that on both of our channels. And indeed, Viv, you've got ways of giving you money as well, correct?
Oh, yeah, I have a Patreon. It's patreon.com/MixVivianWolf. But
there you go.
Yeah.
And you can subscribe to either channel.
Pizza.
You can, that's true. You can buy a Viv piece. You can also subscribe to both Kevin or myself on Twitch for $4.99 or for free with Twitch Prime by linking your Amazon Prime account to your Twitch account to get a free subscription every single month at no cost to yourself, transferring Bezos bucks to us to keep us employed on Twitch.tv.
Or you can throw coins at me in the street like I'm a Premier League referee. Either way is good.
But a Premier League referee that you can see for free if you elect the Liberal Democrats.
Well, that plan is so Liberal Democrat. Not let's take it in house and have everyone have access to Premier League football on free to air TV. No, can we have a few more games? Can we have a couple more games on live TV, please? Dickhead.
Okay, why are you telling me? Genuinely, why? What do you expect me to do about that exactly? Or I can't vote for Keir Starmer. Firstly, you're not voting for Keir Starmer. You're voting for the local Labour candidate.
I
It's not
hate
a presidential system.
I've seen so many people fucking repeating this line all over Twitter as well. It's like, you're not voting for Keir Starmer, you're voting for your local MP. In a general election, you're voting for Keir Starmer. You're voting for who you want to be in fucking government.
Also,
right?
this is from the very same people who are like, I can't vote for Labour because of Jombly Cromblins, actually. But now it's like, no, you're not voting for the lady. You're voting for your local party.
To Tansky's credit, she did support and vote for Jumbler Cromblins, both within the party and in the general election, and also isn't a TERF. So, like, of all the people that, I have more time to be nice to. I think Tansky is one of them. But, you're absolutely right. Trying to say you're voting for your local MP, yeah, and they're standing on the manifesto written by all the fuckers that are in Starmer's Politburo. That's how the party democracy works.
I'd like to vote for my MP. I like my MP. I think my Labour MP is a really, really fucking good person.
Who is this person?
Or
do you not want to dox yourself?
That would be revealing where I live. I'll tell you in the DMs later.
Okay.
I think he's. I think shit. I even said he.
So it's Rosie,
it's going to narrow it down, isn't it?
It's Rosie Duffield, isn't it?
Robert Galbraith.
I don't think she uses he/him pronouns. Maybe it's Robert Galbraith. I think my local Labour MP is a decent person. I mean, maybe going really, really good might be a bit over the top, but I would like to be able to vote for them. But I can't bring myself to do it because every single fucking MP in the Houses of Parliament that wears a red rosette is just another reason for Starmer to say, we've got an overwhelming supermajority, we don't have to actually change any of our policies, we can keep pandering to all the Tory donors that we've courted over the last year,
Also, interestingly, just on that point of local MPs, he's not technically my MP, but he was the guy I first ever voted for to become MP. Steve McCabe, who's a person that no one will have heard of, but he's been the Birmingham MP, Birmingham Hall Green MP for a million years, since like '97, I think, and he's was indeed the chairman of the Labour Friends of Israel, right?
Oh, excellent!
Absolute piece of shit. He has been essentially not brigaded. I don't know if that's the correct term. Lots of Muslim Labour members turned up to the meeting in order to get him deselected, and so he's now decided to stand down. So he won't be fighting this election, which is fucking awesome.
I mean, if you've been chair of Labour Friends of Israel only for 5 years' time, and you'll be Bibi Netanyahu's direct spokesperson, a la David Menzer.
That would be amazing. Because he's got some Scottish accent, so that would be very funny. Him and Fartlow would go on very well.
What's that? Somebody in Israel has an accent that's not Middle Eastern. I don't believe you.
No, Rappaport's got a really thick Tel Aviv accent, Michael Rappaport.
I DM'd Kev the name of my Labour MP. Kev will confirm. They're a pretty decent person as Labour MPs go.
I have to reveal who this is. Where are we? Sorry. It's Keir Starmer. Oh, okay, interesting. Fair enough, yeah.
Again, like my local MP is a nobody. Like literally, my MP is some fucking councillor from Lewisham. Nobody, no connection to the community. Apparently, according to sources that I have, she's told people in the locality that she doesn't need to campaign because the constituency's sewn up already. I've never spoken to her, never seen her, and again, she's just somebody who's been parachuted in from the Westminster bubble. She's just gonna be another member of the. She's just gonna be another somebody who always votes with the whip and never actually undermines party authority. Yeah, fuck am I voting for her?
That phrase, I've heard it so much over the past couple of weeks, parachuted in, and it's fucking driving me insane. I hate it. It sounds incredibly dumb. But I can't think of a better term for exactly what's fucking happening, right? Just random carpet bagging. Yeah, why not? But just fucking random nobodies who nobody in the local constituency has ever even fucking heard of, who are only there because, like you said earlier, Helena, they have connections to lobbyists, they're Starmer loyalists, whatever. Just literally getting plonked down into a constituency and given that seat as a reward for their loyalty to Starmer.
Well, That's the one problem with McCabe being deselected is that we're just going to get some Labour together fucking wanker parachuted in, carpet bagged. Yeah, but anyway.
Inserted.
What do you make
Penetrated.
that? Yeah.
Oh God.
They're penetrating the bureaucracy, Bob.
But look, Birmingham Hall Green is submissive and breedable, so that's fine.
Plus, there's loads of progressives in Labour, that you're throwing out with the bathwater off the top of my head. Nadia Whittome, Zara Sultana, Dawn Butler. And then there's the classic, isn't there?
That's funny, right? Dawn Butler, Starmer basically just tried to axe from the party. Failed, but she'll be out eventually, right?
Thing is, what's important?
Zara Sultana's been horribly fucking attacked by the party.
Yeah.
And who was the other person that she fucking said?
Nadia Whittome was literally was sacked from a shadow frontbench position.
Yeah.
Live on TV. Live on fucking TV, they sacked her from a shadow position.
So I don't know. Are we throwing them out, or have they already effectively fucking thrown out? Like, what kind of power do they have within the party now?
Yeah.
Well, I know this video was published before the this kind of recent outbreak of Purgegate or whatever, but it's very interesting to watch it now in the midst of them getting rid of, or maybe getting rid of ABBA and getting rid of oh god, we watched the thing the other day. What was the name? No, anyway, it doesn't matter. They're purging other people.
Faisal Shaheen?
Faisal Shaheen, there we go.
That's the one.
It's so ironic that she's like, well, you're throwing out progressives. No, you fuckers are throwing out progressives. You're the ones doing that.
Exactly. I think as well is that even if I know there are plenty of people who have different opinions on these things. I know loads of people are just like no votes for Labour regardless of who it is. But if you take, for example, like the kind of the main ringleader, I guess, because this one who always triggers the libs on this one from like a left-wing perspective is Owen Jones. His We Deserve Better campaign is kind of the focal point for the vote Greens and Independents because the Tories are toast. Even under the We Deserve Better framework about who they want you to vote for, even they say vote for Socialist Labour MPs. So the idea that we're throwing the baby out with the bathwater in the majority of cases isn't true. I mean, I've already said on my channel that, if you're in Hayes and Harlington or Hackney, North and Stoke Newington, right? Like McDonnell and Abbott have gigantic majorities. You can vote Green all you like. It doesn't make any fucking difference, right? But there are plenty of SCG members who do have tight majorities. People like Zara Sultana, I think you could be able to vote for her. I even mentioned on Twitter today, Olivia Blake might get unseated by a Liberal Democrat. And if there's anything worth like sucking it up and voting Labour for, is to stop a Liberal Democrat winning a seat over somebody from the Socialist campaign group.
Yeah.
But in the vast majority of cases, the progressive MPs have big majorities, so it doesn't matter how we vote. And in the second cases, loads of people who are part of this divest from Starmerism campaign are happy to hold their nose for the few, minute number of progressives that haven't been purged already anyway.
I disagree.
You should vote for your local MP. Where's Streeting?
Fucking fuck off. I shouldn't have bothered DMing you for that. Oh my God, you're just gonna pretend it's like every arsehole from the Labour Party.
Yeah, yes I am. Yes I am.
Yeah, that's fun.
We'll
have fun with that tonight, chat. We'll have fun with that tonight. No, I disagree. There's one thing in your framing that I kind of disagree with, Helena. And it's this idea that, if it's a sewn-up, safe Labour seat, that voting for another party does absolutely nothing, right? The only way that these previously safe seats have ever been fucking turned is by an incremental increase in votes for alternative parties, right? So you want to, even if your seat is a safe Tory or a safe Labour seat, I think voting for Greens, voting for some independent candidate that you really like, I think that those are incredibly viable options because
that's what I was saying.
Yeah,
that's what I was saying. I was saying that you should vote Green if you're in Hayes and Harlington or Hackney North and Stoke Newington, even though they're good Labour MPs, because it's worth making the case known for what the progressive side of this is actually saying. Because I'm saying that I think in the tight seats for SCG members, there is an argument for voting for them because you want to keep at least people who are going to not vote through anti-trans legislation, for example, because heaven knows people like Rosie Duffield and Tonya Antonazzi will vote with the Tories on these things. So having pro-trans Labour MPs in power, even if it's only just like a handful, is worth doing so. And it's the
And
Olivia
you
Blakes
say
and the
vote
Zara
with,
Sultanas of this world.
vote with the Tories. I fully expect Starmer to be whipping Labour to be voting for anti-trans legislation.
Well, exactly. Well,
At some point,
they'll still disobey the whip, and getting them in government to disobey the whip is a good thing. But but you're right. In the safe seats, it's well worth voting Green, not just because it builds a movement for future in case McDonnell gets purged, for example. But on top of that, I've mentioned this on stream the other day about tactical voting, which I hate, is that people's campaign financing coming from the state, for example, is based upon the percentage of the vote that they get. So even if you build up a percentage of the voting in safe seats, you don't win any seats, you're still getting campaign financing come the next election. You're still getting your positions in the audience on question time, which may seem like a small thing, but it's how we change rhetoric is by having more voices. That's based upon the electoral result of the last election, how they choose question time audiences. So, 10, 11, 12% Green votes that doesn't win more than 3 or 4 seats, for example, even that might be a stretch. That's still, quadruple the number of people, 5 times as many people who are going to be in the question time audience, who are going to get positions in terms of who gets interviewed on Newsnight, who gets positions to get interviewed on Times Radio, because you're a bigger share of the electoral pie.
And it's all cumulative, right? Like, one of the things I've been remarking on recently is the question time shit, where like the last 2 question times I think have been extraordinarily right wing. Last question time we had the bishop lady. I can't remember her name off the top of my head. And essentially 5 Tories, right? Wes Streeting and then a bunch of foaming at the mouth fascist morons. And Wes Streeting is just, as we all know, a right-wing lick-spittle cunt, right? So, like, just all these things kind of like are cumulative and snowball into broader media recognition, into more votes, into potentially changing a seat like later on, into putting pressure on major parties to take on more progressive policies, etc. This is why I fucking hate tactical voting. Like, getting rid of the Tories can't be your only fucking consideration. Sorry.
Exactly, and it also points out in chat as well as the voting for who people wanted to is how Farage forced Cameron to call a referendum by threatening the electoral coalition of the Conservative Party by saying, if you don't take a clear stance on the European Union, you'll lose our votes forever. And they got the referendum and they got Brexit done and they won no seats.
Yeah, and Reform are literally doing the same thing, and they'll win no seats, but they've forced the Tory party further right than it's been in, decades.
Yeah.
Do people realise how eye-rollingly predictable and tedious that comment is? Not to mention
what's the comment?
factually.
I've forgotten now. It's been so long.
Tories and Labour being the same, I'm assuming.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Viv, you sent me this video. How do you not know what it was?
I'm sorry, I don't have the entirety of the fucking transcript memorized, Kevin. I apologize for that oversight on my behalf, okay?
Oh, Jesus, just go and vote for your local MP, Margaret Hodge, please. Jesus.
Completely inaccurate. It's such a basic bitch response. Especially enraging to me, because I've been making content for 4 years which is focused purely on holding the Tories accountable, right? All the crimes, all the scandals.
And not holding Keir Starmer at all.
Well, again, because there's no material analysis, right? Because she understands. I've seen enough of her content. I know that she understands that the Tories are funded by dark money, by the people who are the enemy of working people, the bourgeois people who are literally our material enemy in this in class conflict. Whatever. I know that she knows this. And I know that she should know better than just blue team bad, red team good. But again, it's just the liberal brain poison just comes in when it comes to electoral politics. And she, again, won't criticise the problem, which is conservatism, rather than the Conservative Party.
Yeah.
Sometimes multiple scandals breaking in one day. I've always been really clear that I'm a Labour member, right? But I advocate for tactical voting. And even if I didn't advocate for tactical voting, under the current first past the post system, it's a 2-horse race, isn't it? And in terms of my personal opinion, aside from all the
it's just, it just isn't, right? Like, it's just not. The amount of fucking pressure that SNP has managed to put on the major parties in Parliament, it's not a straight 2-horse race. Like, if you get some MPs in Parliament, then you have a voice in fucking Parliament.
Yeah.
Exactly. On top of that as well is this idea as well from the tactical voting people. I mentioned this on stream yesterday. I posted a TikTok about it today, but I specifically mentioned this point, which is that people keep saying, "Oh, if you vote for the Green, if you encourage people to vote for the Greens, Labour might not win." I'm just like, the people I'm clearly like, come off it. Like, the people I'm appealing to are not like Tory Labour swing voters. I'm appealing to progressive student-y types. I'm appealing to ethnic minority people in urban areas, people from who are kind of trade union types, whatever it might be, people who are on our side of the political spectrum very specifically, and also trying to win over people who can be sold on the idea of public ownership and of more redistributive policies. But the vast majority of people are going to be in Labour seats. They're going to be in Labour Green seats, and the idea that there's any amount of Labour votes that could end up voting Green that could lead to a Conservative winning that seat under first past the post, it's tiny. It's absolutely tiny, the potential harm that might do to the difference in the vote.
However, I would take the position that I would rather, frankly, have another 4 years of the Tories than reward this current iteration of the Labour Party with power. Like, not that it's going to happen, right? But But I just don't find the argument that, like, oh, you're allowing the Tories to win. Like, I don't find that particularly convincing to me, because I would genuinely rather have the Tories win, because I want us to have the option of not having the Tories at some point in the future. And I think that just putting into power a Labour Party which really isn't that far removed from the Tories, or at least could reasonably be characterised as Tory during the Cameron years. I think having them be the Labour Party from now on, I think it's just shit.
Your audience is people
I don't
who
want
actually
that.
Well,
want to be
I would
led
put it
wing,
slightly different
not
way
vote
and
Labour
say,
doodle shrug.
I think you've got to have a bit more self-respect than to just say, well, the Labour Party might be really shit, but I'm still going to vote for them because it's a two-horse race. No, demand something of them. Demand something of them. You've got to have some fucking policy for me to vote for. Like, if they were offering just a really shit, watered-down version of social democracy, I'd probably still vote for that, just on the basis that, it is a two-party race, and okay, they're offering something. There is a harm reduction mitigation factor involved here. But they aren't offering anything. They're literally saying there is no place for you in this Labour Party. Okay, well, I'll vote for someone who doesn't fucking despise me then. Okay.
Yeah, exactly. Again, we all fell in line.
Yeah.
We all fell in line behind Ed Miliband. We all fell in line behind deficit reduction plan from Ed Balls as Shadow Chancellor, because at least we had a seat at the table and they didn't tell us that they hated our guts and they wanted us out of the party forever. Like, it's super simple how to get our votes on board, by being slightly less shit than the Tories and by being welcoming of our political opinions. And now we've got neither, and they get mad when we don't support them. Like, fuck off, mate. Like, I'm sorry, it's just not on. And on top of that,
I don't owe you my fucking vote, mate. You're supposed to be serving me, not the other way around.
Yeah,
but also, how long are we supposed to take that, right? Like, let's say we agree to that argument now, and we're like, yeah, sure, fine, get rid of the Tories. The Labour are like marginally better. What happens in the next fucking election when the Tories are even further right and Labour are even further right?
Or even if Reform UK are the new opposition.
Argument apply? Yeah. Does the same argument apply? Do we just keep doing that ad infinitum as we keep shifting towards the right? Is that like,
it hasn't worked for the last 40 years, so I don't know that it's going to continue to work exactly that same way.
Yeah. So when does this argument run out? How much abuse are we supposed to take? Like, oh, you're fucking dirty, fucking Tory enabling whatevers, right? Like, how much of that are we supposed to take before we go, well, fuck you? Why the fuck should we vote for you anymore? You're not representing us in any fucking sense of the word. You're not giving us any of the things that we say we want or need. Like, we're
starving children. They're literally starving children.
Yeah, fuck it. They're like 2-child benefit cap. You can't even remove that.
Literally 500,000 children staying in poverty. How is our fucking red? What? Hang on.
No. The rich do have that right to defend themselves.
Well, at the end of the day, right? This is the most important point here. What would be the red line for these people? Like, this is the question I want to ask all of these people. What would Starmer have to do? What would the Labour Party have to do for you to say, no, this has gone far enough, I can't vote for you, I can't support you? Do they have to kick a dog do they have to kick a dog on TV, send your family to Gulag, promise to, invade Ukraine with Russia? Like what possible things do they have to do to get you to not fucking vote for these people? Because they're...
It's put on a blue rosette. That's it. That's the only
That's all that
difference.
matters to these people. Literally all that matters, yeah.
Yeah, it's a football
Did you get a
thing.
haircut, Kev?
Did I get a haircut?
Yeah, did you get a haircut? Or is it
No.
just how you're wearing it? You got sort of early YouTube loner box thing going on.
No, I can do my hair's long enough that I can kind of do the emo over the eye bit now, which is nice.
Yeah. Oh, wild.
It's fucking hot. Yeah.
Tactical voting, and aside from the campaign that I'm associated with, I don't think people realise that the only reason that Rishi Sunak has called this election is because he has bankrupted the country. Billions in COVID fraud. $500 million.
That's what kind of analysis? What kind of analysis is that?
Why did he call the election because of that? That was known ages ago.
That's rubbish. Yeah, that's.
Well, yeah, I mean, the answer, of course, is he called the election because he didn't want people to the longer he waits, the more old people die, and the more people have to get like new mortgages with the shitty interest rates.
Well, my theory from day one has been that he knew that more votes of no confidence were going in from someone to call an election, so he could dissolve Parliament to stop them from being able to remove him as Prime Minister.
He was far more scared of the 1922 committee than he is of the electorate, so that's why he went.
Yeah.
That's my theory anyway. Obviously, none of us can fucking know because even if they tell us, we can't trust that it's the truth.
Also, let's be honest, he's screaming. He's screaming for this to be over. He wants to get on a plane and go to California and pretend that Britain never happened.
I don't know if that's true. I think if he could hold on to power, it'd do it forever.
Well, probably, but he knows that can't happen. So instead of waiting until November, he's thinking, I could still get in the last couple of months of summer in California, I reckon.
Yeah, probably.
Fuck it, let's go.
Billion on a wasted Rwanda scheme. No wonder Labour are having to be tentative, because they're inheriting a nightmare. Another common thing is people saying, "Oh, I prefer."
I'm sorry, I'm just sick of this. I'm really sick of people who just they don't know anything about economics. They've never studied any macroeconomics. They've even bothered doing the rudimentary research, basic shit like I have. And they just repeat whatever Keir Starmer and Rachel Reeves have said in interviews on ITV or whatever about there being no magic money tree and we're inheriting a terrible economy and there's no money left, for example. All this bullshit is not true. It's just fundamentally not true. There is no economic reason as to why a country with a high debt to GDP ratio has a worse economy than one with a low debt to GDP ratio. That's just fundamentally not true. Bond yields are coming down. Inflation is now lower, so interest rates will start coming down too. There is plenty of room for them to fiscally expand into new investment plans. There's absolutely plenty of reason for them to be able to do this. So for her to say, oh, no wonder Labour are being timid, they've got no money left, it's bullshit. Learn economics for fuck's sake and stop just repeating verbatim what Wes Streeting has mentioned to you on the fucking news, like an automaton. Critique these people. Stop just acting like they are saying things truthfully in your best interest. They lie all the fucking time. All of the time. This is a political campaign entirely based on lies. And because these credulous people, I guess understandably, want to take their chosen political party seriously and take them at face value, I'm sorry, Tan, they're lying to you.
Yeah. They really are.
For this candidate to win in this area, could you add them to the tactical? No, because that's not how tactical voting works. It's not a preference. It's not ideological. It's logical. It's a data-based aim with a very...
Okay, if you're still playing bingo, chalk that one off. Practical, not ideological.
Yeah, literally centrist bingo, yeah.
Clear objective. Destroying the Conservative government and the Conservative Party for good. If we all vote tactically to get out or
how
keep
is that
out
not an
Conservative
ideological
government,
objective? But it's ideological. It's stupid. It's
it's
based purely on I hate people who wear blue, but it's an ideology. It's the ideology of hating blue rosettes. Like,
Well,
go for it.
again, there's no such thing as being practical but not ideological, because what you perceive to be practical will always be in service of ideological ends at the end of the day when it comes to politics. Like it's a nonsense phrase that people keep using because, again, liberals and centrists perceives themselves as being outside of ideology. The right and the left, they're all cranks who we can ignore. They are political persona non grata who we can shove to the sidelines because they are clouded by ideology, without realizing
Yeah, this is
liberalism
just
is a fucking ideology.
This is just a basic analysis of like power politics anyway. This is exactly
Yeah.
how white people think of themselves, how cisgendered people think of themselves, how straight people think of themselves. They are the normal. They are the default.
Cultural
They are
hegemony.
Yeah, there's things that she and her people believe, and then there's the extremism. That's it.
Yeah, exactly.
There's an Overton window, and there was ideological. That's it. The two genders, Overton window and ideological.
Then, bye. It's game over. Another one I hear is,
Again,
I want to
pause
vote
as
with
well.
my
Sorry,
heart. Yeah,
I hate to like pause Andy again, but it's a really great point in chat from Lewis, which is that even if the Tories get wrecked, that won't end conservatism. Right-wing politics won't just fuck off somewhere because there's no Tories in government. Again, yeah, absolutely, because again, the material analysis is that conservatism is an artifact of material relationships of capital and labour. It's a material relationship based around the society that we have and the economy that we
Right,
have.
Marx, calm down. Jesus.
Yeah, well, I fucking am Karl Marx. The real Karl Marx has been reincarnated in the body of a fucking Twitch streamer, but it's so true. Literally 100%. It's about material relationships, and again, this material relationships are the ones that's poisoned the heart of the Labour Party, and she can't fucking see that because it's all blue team bad and not indeed an ideology that I want to get rid of.
Yeah.
Only a Zizek gift, true.
Also, you don't need to apologise and keep saying, I don't want to pause, Andy, because, yeah, you do. We both do. That's what we do. It's fine.
Yeah.
I've come to accept.
That's why
I don't celebrate or
videos.
condemn what it is. I just accept it is a part of me.
I picked some nice short videos today. Usually you watch something that's 40 minutes and it takes you 3 hours. Today we've got some nice 8-minute videos that should only take an hour each.
Yeah, this one has already taken an hour. And we are not even halfway through the time. Jesus Christ.
Will, mate. There are still some areas where you can do that, where it kind of just so happens to turn out that it's like, almost like having a functioning democratic voting system. But in the vast majority of areas in the country, that isn't happening. First past the post is a deeply undemocratic.
What was the context of this, sorry?
Oh, Jesus Christ, it's going to take us forever.
Vote your conscience.
There are still some areas where you can do that, where
Okay.
it kind of just so happens to turn out that it's like, almost like having a functioning democratic voting system. But in the vast majority of areas in the country, that isn't happening. First past the post is a deeply undemocratic voting system. The only other place in Europe that has it is a literal dictatorship. It's a system which...
And again, the thing is that she keeps saying, oh, well, people are just wanting to vote with their heart. And I'm like, no, we have utilitarian reasons why we want to support the Green Party. We have a whole strategy in mind for why we're doing this. It's not just Labour make me feel bad, I want to vote for the people who I like. No, we have a whole plan about the way in which we want to use our vote to be able to influence policy in the best utilitarian fashion. And again, we have this continued problem that they don't realise that dictatorial power for Labour is bad.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
Which consistently benefits the Conservatives and completely disregards progressive votes, despite the progressive vote outweighing the Conservative vote. Tactical voting is a step in the right direction. It's a process. It's us finding...
Maybe you could force the Labour Party to introduce some sort of fairer voting system then?
And again, they keep
asking them for anything too much.
Yeah, and on top of that, they keep saying, oh, if we just elect Keir Starmer, he'll give us first past the post if we pressure him. You're giving him a 300-seat majority under first past the post. Why would he introduce proportional representation? What the fuck would they have to gain from proportional representation? Do some basic analysis. Like, live in the real world where I'm going to give them dictatorial power and they will willingly give it up to make me feel nice inside. You're a fucking moron.
He promised proportional representation when he thought it was something that could help him gain power. But when he finally decided that power was all but assured, he was like, well, fuck proportional representation, I'm going to get rid of that.
Yeah.
Because
asking a government with a majority to introduce proportional representation is asking the turkeys to vote for Christmas. which is why you must force them to do it.
Yep, literally.
Finding a loophole in systems designed to benefit the Conservatives and then using them to our advantage. We're making people aware of the limitations of that voting system.
That's exactly
and then
what
we're
they
telling
were
them how
doing
they
by becoming Tories. Using the systems designed to benefit Conservatives by becoming Conservatives, so that the system will benefit them.
can overcome it to get what they want. If you do this thing, we will achieve our aims. And what's our aim? Dismantling one of the oldest, most consistently damaging, self-serving and hateful political parties in Britain. It's a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. And any commentator out there that's telling you to vote for a party that hasn't got hope in hell of winning the seat isn't giving you the full facts, no. And also, whose side are they on? Because doing that will split the progressive vote.
Labour and the Liberal Democrats are not the progressive vote. There is nothing progressive about starving children and endorsing war crimes. How many fucking times does this have to be a thing that we have to continue saying? I know my chat, obviously, hear it over and over again because the people continue to interact with. I'm just sick. I'm just so sick of people talking about the Progressive Alliance. What with the austerity democide enablers and like the war crime endorsers? No, fuck off, mate. Nothing progressive there. Nothing progressive at all.
Yeah, exactly. Then you to pretend that you're part of the Progressive Alliance or whatever is ridiculous. You're not. You're stealing votes from progressive parties under the guise of being progressive.
Yeah, you're shortening the odds of anything progressive ever happening by closing the door on what's acceptable progressivism.
Yeah.
Quote unquote.
And that's how the Tories
Also, I will just point out, in terms of which side are you on narratives, you're in the same political party as Natalie Elphick.
True, and Christian Wakeford.
And Christian
Which
Wakeford.
side are you on?
I'm not on the same. I'm not in the same political party as rape apologist Natalie Elphick.
I can't fucking sing that. That's a Union song.
Yeah,
That makes me a trot.
exactly. Purge.
sneak in. And not just that, they rely on us doing that. Just like they rely on us not being informed, being apathetic, not using our vote. You can't deny our political reality, but you can protest against it. And it's not like any of us want to tactically vote. We don't sit there and go, oh, I bloody love tactical voting. It's just a means for us to get one step closer, you know, whilst using the systems. Because if you don't use the systems, you're just an eternal protester. It's a step closer to achieving the aims
no,
that
protest!
Adults in the room. Adults in the room.
Literally all the memes in one place.
Student politics. Oh fucking hell. Oh god. I want to tear my fucking skin off. Jesus.
I want to say things in terms of service.
Exactly. Your terms of service are what's stopping me from saying things. Tansky, I'm just saying. Just saying.
I was going to myself.
Which is
I'm protecting here, to be honest.
Well, exactly, yeah.
voter reform, press reform, our public services being a priority, nationalisation. It's a plan
Nationalising fucking what?
and it'll work. But only
Nationalising fucking what? What's he nationalising?
They're going to build Great British Railways. That Tory policy from the Shapps Phillips Rail Review. They're going to do that. It's not like the Tories already nationalised like 6 different rail lines already been nationalised under the Tories. I mean, it's good. It's good that they are doing nationalisation of the rest of the rail franchises. But it's nothing new. It's nothing special. It's always been policy. And the fact that even the Tories do it just shows you how like minimal it is. But no, they've got a publicly owned energy company, so it's all good.
Yes.
Well, you disabused me very quickly of that notion earlier, so...
if you turn up. Another one I get is, why should I vote for Labour? We've got the website there which will tell you, how you can vote tactically if you want to. But the answer to that question is pretty simple, isn't it? Under our voting system, it's them or Tory. But as for the question, why should I vote for Labour? I don't know, mate. Have you tried using a hospital lately? How about you look at the 4 years of videos that I've made outlining every single scandal? How about you wake up to the fact that these lads are, robbing your taxes? They helped kill your nan, who you had to watch on Zoom whilst they partied and got off their tits on cocaine in Downing Street. Here's Gordon Brown, texture like sun, with a list of reasons that spell out the difference between a Conservative and a Labour government.
You have to go as
Then
far
look
back
at-
as Gordon Brown. I want to. Okay, so I saw this video earlier. Full disclosure, okay, but I was so fucking. I was mind blown that she brought this up as like, okay, here's Gordon Brown to explain to you the difference between Labour and Tories. I want to see how much of what Gordon Brown touts as Labour's achievements, and to be fair, a lot of them are great achievements, right? I want to see how much of that Keir Starmer's going to build on or
Okay.
re-achieve.
Exactly,
Okay.
and on top of that as well is the again this is only the good stuff. It's only the good stuff that she'll let you know about. Again, all of these Labour sycophants, will they ever mention any of the bad things from the Blair administration? They'll mention the war because everyone agrees that the war was bad, but people don't talk. They don't talk about PFIs. They don't talk about buy-to-let mortgages. They don't talk about the lack of council housing. They don't talk about the deindustrialisation. They don't talk about the continued deregulation of the continuation of Thatcherite, the deregulated nature of the financial sector that they inherited from Margaret Thatcher. They don't talk about the plan to try and send asylum seekers to Tanzania. They don't talk about the choreographed things with the Sun newspaper that David Blunkett was doing to try and make them look tough on asylum. They don't talk about the fact that it was Yvette Cooper who initially instituted the disabled fucking litmus test shit for welfare payments during like the Benefit Street era. They don't talk about any of these things. All they think about is, red team good, let's talk about the minimum wage and let's talk about the Equality Act. Fine, things I agree with, or at least, in principle, I think they're not terrible. Like for the minimum wage, where I would prefer collective bargaining, for example. But they never talk about the bad things because red team good.
Also, why did you have to bring up Yvette Cooper and Ducks Vivian Woolf like that? Really?
Hey,
Jesus.
no.
What we have achieved together since 1997. The winter fuel allowance, the shortest waiting times in history, crime down by a third, the creation of Sure Start, the cancer guarantee, record results in schools, more students.
Why would you guarantee to give people cancer? That's very strange.
Also, by the way, sorry,
Ever.
I want to point out, just so it's clear, for Venusian Teapot in chat, I think was getting the wrong end of the stick. When I said the things I would want to say preclude terms of service, it's well worth pointing out that self-robloxing is also against terms of service, and that's what I was referring to. I wasn't being mean to Supertansky, I was being mean to myself. I just want to clarify in case people think that I was saying something that I wasn't.
Yes.
The Disability Discrimination Act, devolution, civil partnerships, peace in Northern Ireland, the social chapter, 500,000 children out of poverty, maternity pay, paternity leave, child benefit at record levels, the minimum wage, the ban on cluster bombs, the cancelling of debt, the trebling of aid, the first ever Climate Change Act. That's the Britain we've been building together. That's the change we choose.
Okay, so ban on cluster bombs. Okay, well, Starmer's supporting war crimes in Israel. Okay, so the lifting children out of poverty. Well, Starmer's not going to remove the fucking. People literally calling Keir Starmer kid starver, right? So what else was on that fucking list there? The green energy stuff, right? We just discussed how they've completely washed away their plans to push to net zero, and setting up Great British Energy, which Helena has reliably informed me is just a fucking investment company and not a public energy company at all. I'm struggling to remember the other things he said there. There were quite a lot.
Yeah. Well, also, if you have to go back 20 fucking years. Look, I don't get. Tell me what you're going to do now, not what you did 20 years ago.
And also, that's 13 years of Labour government, and they're going to say, "Oh, we banned cluster bombs." I'm like, "Okay, mate, what? Like, sure."
That's why I'm comparing, though. That's the thing, right? Is that she's saying that Gordon Brown is demonstrating the difference between Labour and the Tories, and I'm saying that the Labour Party that Gordon Brown is talking about there, okay, is fucking dead. Keir Starmer wouldn't support most of those policies today.
Yeah, He'd be
And it's
purged by the party as a trot. Yeah.
Yeah, at the end of the day, a lot of these things were at least in the manifesto. These were things that they campaigned on. Has Keir Starmer campaigned on any of these things? Anything close to these things? Like breakfast clubs in schools, maybe, is like the closest you get into like a genuinely progressive policy in terms of wanting to make life better for kids. But the two-child benefit cap, they've been explicit about how proud they are that they're going to keep the two-child benefit cap, which they could do if they tax the rich fucking tomorrow, and they don't do it. They don't do any of these things.
Yeah.
How can people still wonder, after 14 years of this, anything would be better? My cat in a fucking bow tie would be better than those clowns playing at running the country. We're not telling anyone what to do. We're just providing a resource that will decimate.
No, we're not telling anyone what to do, but if you don't do what we say, we're going to call you a Tory neighbour and say you're personally starving children to death. Fuck you and your fucking weird shaming bullshit.
Them. Purity, party political purity, ideology, individualism.
I don't have the party political purity. I'm a lifelong Labour voter. Apart from the first election I voted in, I voted for Lib Dems, and that was the coalition government.
Oh God, I'm surrounded by shit libs. They're everywhere.
But I'm a lifelong fucking Labour voter who's saying I'm not going to vote for Labour anymore. This is not party loyalty, right? Yes, it's ideology. Mine is the ideology of loving democracy and not wanting to see more people starving, dying, and being oppressed by the government because of their various immutable characteristics. That is my ideology. And if it's not yours, then fuck you.
And again, what they're trying to, when she says like it's all about ideology, individualism, and purity politics. Again, she just doesn't understand that we have a utilitarian, there's a calculus that we've taken into why we're using the vote the way that we are. And this idea that they look, all these people think these things. They think that all we're doing is just having a visceral emotional reaction to Labour and throwing our toys out of the pram and voting for somebody because we want to feel good about ourselves. And that's just 100% not the case. I mean, at least Phil, from a different bias, at least interacted with the arguments I was making as for the reasons why I'm doing it. I was very clear about it, and he was at least interacting. But these people don't want to discuss. They don't want to debate. They don't want to be able to entertain the idea that maybe our strategy is different to theirs. They just go, oh, they're all purity politics. Oh, they're just individuals.
And then they'll slag us all off as like Corbynistas as well. And I think you guys are probably slightly more hot on Corbyn than I am. But in general, like I don't give a fuck about Corbyn. I thought he would have been an okay, a decent Labour leader. I liked the direction he was pulling the party in, but I don't care whether or not Jumbly Crumbles is in a leadership position or not, right? What I care about are the things that I fucking listed before, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. Also, by the way, there is a Liberal Democrat in my chat saying that the Green Party are far left, and I'm just like, no, like. When on earth at any point have the Green Party called for the workers' control of the means of production, distribution and exchange? They've said, let's tax the rich and maybe let's stop sewage being dumped into our rivers and maybe let's try finding some way of redistributing wealth from the obscene super rich. True, exactly. That is, if you think that you want to tax the rich a little bit more, you're basically a disciple of Leon Trotsky at this point. Marxism, Leninism, Denirism.
Which is nuts to me. Because I don't know, maybe we should show up in Parliament and we'll hear some of my fucking ideas. You'll see what hard left actually fucking looks like.
Yeah.
You
Also,
know what I mean?
Sorry, I just have to say thank you to Lewis for the £20 super chat. You've been very generous tonight, everybody. If everyone wants to know more about progressive politics in Sefton, you're happy to talk. It's a shame you missed our convo with Sean. The Green candidate in Southport is amazing too. Well, thank you very much for the super chat, Lewis. Again, if you want to DM me on Discord about it, you're welcome to do so. I'm always got time for listening to my chatters. So.
Oh, don't open that.
That's all.
Yeah, exactly. That's the problem.
There's a limited amount of time you have. Yeah.
You interact with people, you get fucking Lib Dems in your chat. That's the problem.
You've always said I'm very hoping to have debates with people and have a plurality of opinions here. But just again, there's nothing far left about meaningful, like moderate social democratic politics. But he's the chatter. I don't know what their pronouns are. Has said all the love and you come in peace. And that's fair enough. If you're happy to debate in reasonable terms, you're welcome into the chat.
Irrelevant if you're going to spend the next 5 years with a boot on your neck. don't know about you, but I'd prefer to take a gamble on a party that might not meet every single one of my individual personal needs, but is at least a change,
Doesn't meet
rather than
any of
facing
them.
the
It doesn't meet any of them. I do not feel represented by the Labour Party. In fact, the Labour Party seems, as a trans person, to be utterly hostile to my very fucking existence. This is not.
Where's
This is
streeting?
not
It's going to be in charge of our fucking healthcare. Like, where's streeting
Yeah.
is going to be in charge of our healthcare.
It's not a question of them not being pure enough for me, right? I'm willing to make fucking compromise. I just said I'm like probably one of the hardest left people you're ever gonna have to fucking deal with, right? But like, but I'm never gonna. I'm probably not going to see in my lifetime a government which represents the kind of politics I would like to see in this country. I'm willing to make compromises for things that are things that are better, right? But they've got to actually be fucking better. I don't want to vote for a party that is hostile to my fucking existence. And I think it's condescending as shit for the cisgec to be telling me that I need to, because I don't see, you know, it was my friends who fucking died under the Tory government, right? But you know what? They died because of policies that were fucking brought up during the last Labour government. Okay, so why am I voting for fucking Labour? What do I have to vote for Labour for? How do they represent me in any way? They just don't.
They don't. Yeah.
the same old, guaranteed fascism. Now, you can be a part of the movement that are trying to affect change and bring down the Conservative Party, or you can sit there whining about Starmer. But if you want to do the latter...
But you aren't campaigning to change anything. You aren't. You're just changing the fucking rosette. That's it.
You're campaigning to get Starmer in as well.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah. You're the one campaigning to make sure that nothing fucking changes.
Yeah, exactly. It's a change. I guess a change of the guard, a change in management, not a change in ideology.
Exactly. It's so fucking frustrating to hear them talk like they're fucking burgeoning revolutionaries or something. Shut the fuck up. You want a different manager in the fucking stage decline of Britain.
Yeah, yeah.
I don't really particularly want to hear about it because I've got a job to do. So yeah, if you want to, join us.
Important job. Very important job. Going to destroy the Tories by becoming them.
We haven't failed.
Exactly. Look, I've got to sit here and placate divorced centrist dads. It's a very, very important job I do.
The things again, like, fine, she's not paid attention to the Labour Party. That's fine, but stop ignoring people who have been paying attention, who've been part of at least the trade union Labour movement for. I've only been there for a very short amount of time, to be honest. Like, I'm not like a gigantic expert, but I listen to people who are telling me the shit that's going on within the party, going on with the halls of power, the people who are going to be in control of our democracy, the people who are going to be in control of the things that that get passed as policy, the people like Labour Together and the Tony Blair Institute, which, may I remind everybody, is funded by the Saudi Arabian fucking government, right? The one that cuts off people's hands and won't let women drive. Like, these are the people who are going to be running our democracy if you elect Keir Starmer. And these people don't even want to hold these people to any sort of scrutiny and just say, well, you've got to vote for them. We'll try and push them left later once they've got a giant majority after you've given up all of your leverage. And I'm like, sure, you hate the Tories, that's fine. But you cannot just abandon scrutiny for everybody else.
Yeah, it's just Tories bad politics. It's shallow, it's vapid, it's stupid, it's naive, it's anti-democratic, let's be fucking honest, because if all you care about is the colour of the fucking ribbon, then you just end up in a one-party state anyway, right? Like, and she has the fucking balls to be this fucking condescending to people about it. That's what really gets my fucking goat. It's like, oh, you're just going to sit there and whine about Starmer while we get on with the job. You know, it's the whole adults in the room bullshit again. When it's like, oh, the adults in the room have the same policies as the fucking babies. Okay, I actually don't care. I know she brought it up earlier, and I know it's a really big story, and it's so horrific that it happened. Right? I don't actually care that Tory MPs partied in Downing Street during the pandemic. I don't care that much about that, right? because whether they did or didn't has very little material effect on our lives. Sure, the attitude that it exposes, right, the attitude that Tories have towards these things is what drives the other policies that do harm, but the actual act of them just partying during the pandemic, I don't give a fuck. I care about the disabled people that had forced DNRs put on them during the fucking pandemic, right? The people that actually fucking died, them partying didn't fucking kill anybody. Their policies did. And the idea that because the Tories are less civil than the fucking than the Labour Party, that somehow that's going to result in less people fucking dying, less people suffering, less people living in poverty, I think is fucking stupid. It's policy that fucking matters, not politeness.
Exactly.
Sorry,
And a really
anyway.
good point in chat there saying, seeing how the adults in the room do without a credit boom economy for 11 years. That's very true. And again, like, you're absolutely right. There's the condescension that really gets my go. Because we do a little bit of condescension, like I've called her a political lightweight, whatever, like that's fine. It's just, it's just meaningless, like insults for people who didn't really want to interact. But at least I try and at least understand the argument that they're putting forward. And I try and respond in terms of what I believe to be the flaws in that argument. They don't even pay attention to what our argument is. They don't bother engaging with the things that we're saying and the reasons we have for doing what we do. They just say, oh, you're critiquing Starmer, why don't you get with the program? We're getting on with the job. We're the real people doing the real action. You're just babies whining about Starmer man bad. And I'm just like, this is just at the very least, treat us with the respect to try and understand our arguments and interact with them in good faith. But they don't come from in good faith.
Arguments are ideology. I don't have an ideology. I just want to destroy the Tories.
Yeah. Literally.
Failed yet, the results in 2 local election campaigns in which they suffered catastrophic losses is proof of that. We will win this, it's just a case of how bad it will be for those bastards that have spent 14 years destroying our country.
Okay, fine. So you already admit that the election's fucking sealed. You already admit that the election is won already, and all that matters is how big the majority is. So after all of this, you're a Tory enabler. So after all of this in the fucking video, all of this, she then admits and saying, well, actually, I just want a massive Labour, like dictatorial style majority, one party state. And if you don't give me one party state, then you're just a bad ideological person. Fuck this. Idiot. I'm sorry. After all of that, to then say that she just agrees that the election's done and dusted regardless of what the left do.
It's funny.
That's so tilting. That's so tilting.
I chose the 2 videos that I did almost particularly because one, I knew that this is basically addressed to people like us, right? This video. So I feel like we should engage with it. If we're going to engage with her at all, we should engage with the shit that's addressed to us, right? But also, the way this video ends with like, well, we're going to fucking win anyway, right? I think leads perfectly into the next video, which is her directly contradicting that statement.
Conservative estimate is extinction. Stop the Tories.
Oh,
literally,
God.
and literally the fact that she says, I just want to make them cry. Again, that's the childish opinion. Isn't I want to make the society a better place by implementing these policy. It's just, I think it's super bad that I thought it would be funny if we watch Tories get sad. I like Tories being sad. I will vicariously enjoy that for like 5 minutes during election night, watching Tories lose their seats from 15,000 majorities. Although I'll get some amount of small enjoyment out of that, and then immediately it will hit that we've got 5 more years of West Streeting on my computer screen, and I'm just going to be very sad afterwards.
So it's the intellectual fucking integrity and consistency that these fucking people lack. Because on one hand, they will be like, we've got the election locked down, right? And on the, depending on who they're talking to, it's either we've got the election locked down or you're a piece of shit, you're going to get the Tories to win the election. Which fucking is it? I don't know. Yeah. And apparently she doesn't fucking know either.
Would you say that her analysis is politically a little bit lightweight?
I is a little lightweight. She is a bit
lightweight. Yeah.
Hipster analysis.
Little bit. Okay, so this was from a couple of months ago. I remember we covered it on a stream chat arena.
2 weeks ago, wasn't it?
Well, it says 2 months there.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
No,
it's very small for me. I can't read.
This was part of my big, mega, Owen Jones derangement syndrome, video response, where I responded to 5 different people. So we've both already watched this. But if your point here I bring up this video in particular is she says it's in the bag, but also in this video she's trying to scare people into tactical voting because she thinks that it's not full conclusion.
It's not my only point. Like, I think there's a lot that she says in this video that's worth addressing as well. I just said that I thought that the last video was a perfect lead into this because it's her offering completely the opposite to what she literally just said. Do you know what I mean? Yeah.
Dystopia warning, obviously. As many of you will know, Owen Jones shockingly left the Labour Party the other day after months and months and months and months and months of writing articles about how rubbish Labour is. I didn't see it coming myself, personally. He then released a pretty lengthy video in which he promoted a campaign called We Deserve Better, which is essentially crowdfunding to elect more Green independent candidates. All right, fair enough. No indication.
Yeah, that is fair enough. Yeah.
Also, somebody pointing out that Tan makes a living out of this because she's an activist. I mean, that's technically what I do. I make a living out of this as well. And there's nothing wrong with that. Like, I saw a bunch of leftoids on Twitter mocking Super Tansky for having a Patreon. So, the divorced dads are all contributing to the Patreon. Funny joke. I agree. It's definitely a funny joke. But no, at the end of the day, like, you know, if people want to give her money because they enjoy her content, then that's fine. Like, that's what people do in my chat. I'm not going to.
Well, I think it's fine if you're going to devote yourself to activism, and other people want to enable you to do that by making sure that you have enough money to fucking live. That's fine by me. Right.
Yeah, but they're trying to. But I put somebody, literally the person who was in Tansky's Instagram comments, getting mad at me about being, wanting people to vote for the Green Party. This person literally tried to imply that I was a grifter because I make money on Twitch for attacking the Labour Party, and I'm just like, do you not think there's more money in me just calling the Tories cockwombles, like using compound swear words, and then just like not engaging?
Right.
Like, do you think there's more money in that, or in like sober Marxist analysis? Like,
no, we're both fucking trans. Okay, if we wanted to grift, we'd just like start bashing trans people. Trans people bashing trans people. There is a huge market for them.
It's true. It's like CPAC immediately on the phone.
Money.
Yeah,
absolutely.
It's like the three.
I could call up Joe Rogan tomorrow and be like,
flicking the Blair White switch.
Yeah, there's the three.
Profitable move. Yeah,
it's the three lucrative careers for trans people. It is leftist video essayist, anti-trans, trans iconoclast, or OnlyFans. That's it.
Yeah, pretty much.
Those are the options. Yeah.
And I wouldn't get too excited about OnlyFans. Only a very small amount of people make enough money to live off OnlyFans. Yeah,
true.
Money will be distributed though. And also, a number of the points that he raised in that video I found to be markedly disingenuous. I personally do not like Owen Jones, no, because of his conduct towards me online. To be fair, we've sparred a fair bit, but largely we stay out of each other's way nowadays. This has got nothing to do with my personal dislike of him. It's also got nothing to do with his stance on Gaza. This is to do with the fact that I see a lot of holes in what he had to say.
What problems she got with his stance on Gaza?
Well, Israel has a right to defend herself because Keith said so. So that's fine. Or something.
I mean,
also, by the way,
Israel probably does have a right to defend itself, but
I tell you what, we need to defend ourselves from though: being poor. And if you want to help us defend ourselves against being poor, you can subscribe.
That's a lovely segue. Go for it.
You can subscribe. You can subscribe on Twitch for $4.99 or for free with Twitch Prime by linking Amazon Prime to your Twitch account for a free sub every single month, courtesy of Jeff Bezos. If you are a Prime subscriber, you also drop bits. 100 for text to speech on my end, 200 for text to speech on Kev's end.
You can drop bits. Let's go.
If you want messages read out, you can super chat on mine and Kev's channel for specific messages you want read out. You can also gift memberships. It's $2.99 on Kev's channel, 99p on mine to become a member or to give memberships, and that gets you access to a bunch of extra bonuses over on YouTube if you want to support the channel in that fashion. And also Viv has Patreon and I believe Cash App as well if you want to throw money Viv's way too, if you want to support the streams. Or
yeah, it's all there in the Twitter profile.
Viv's Twitter account, yeah.
I cannot believe that segue. That's amazing.
That's pretty good. That's pretty good. Since we were talking about grifting.
I promise I can't even say I'm protecting myself from being poor anymore, because once my check from Wizards of the Coast clears, I'll have more money than I've ever had in my bank account in my fucking life.
Oh, nice. What are you getting that for?
Millionaire. She's a millionaire now.
I mean, it's $1,200, but like I got that from, I came 20th out of 810 at the Magic the Gathering European Regional Championship.
Oh, nice. Well, I happen to live so far below the fucking poverty line that it's very doubtful that any of you are going to send me enough money to save me from poverty, but you can at least buy me some fags and pizza. So
True.
that'll be based.
Fair enough.
I think that
Sorry,
Labour should not be
sorry.
held accountable.
Please pause 1 sec, sorry. So someone sent an incredible just bits message in my chat for some reason, which isn't going to text to speech thing because I had fuck in it. But there was someone in my YouTube chat who once at one point said, "Sorry, but how the fuck can you be a leftist and use Amazon or Google for that matter? Saying fuck often does not make a leftist. Do you understand that?"
Yes.
From Aotearoa. They just
I
bits
do
messaged
remember that. Yeah. It was amazing.
Thank you, Rohack. I love the fact that you actually managed to remember the entire message. Perfect.
Fucking
Let's make that into a
neoliberalism.
copy pasta. That needs to be a copy
Absolutely.
pasta. Yeah.
And thank you for the 5 gifted Callum over on YouTube as well too. Thank you for the support.
They of course should, but maybe, I don't know, wait for a manifesto to be released, or I don't know, maybe take into account the fact that Labour is navigating an extremely hostile media landscape that's heavily weighted in terms of
Keir Starmer has had one of the easiest rides of any political party leader in modern times.
Absolutely. Again, going back to like the lack of scrutiny on the GB Energy stuff, just not even bothering to do it. And on top of that, wait till the manifesto comes out. Okay, so then all our leverage is gone. Like, if we say that, we'll go by what they've told us they're going to do, make your manifesto good or we won't vote for you. And you say, we'll vote for you regardless, just give me a manifesto and I'll decide then. Now, that's when your leverage is gone when the manifesto is released.
Yep.
Tory bias, or the fact that the Overton window has shifted so far right, or I don't know, the reality that, many parties...
Keir Starmer's been a part of that, though. What are you talking about? Fuck me, was it this far right when the Jam Man was in? No. He's moved it further right.
Well, literally, Boris Johnson was the most left-wing Conservative Prime Minister since Edward Heath.
From a more central position. We are trying to deal with a government here that is trying to...
I would like to... Actually, sorry, I would reverse that comment. He's the floppy hair Brexit bad man, therefore he's basically fascism. It doesn't matter if he wants to build hospitals or level up the north or have a conversion therapy ban or increase benefits in line with inflation or have a green industrial revolution or build more houses or build HS2 because he did the Brexit and that makes him a fascist. Like that's how these people think, really and truly. Because again, like trying to imply this man was a conservative when he just wasn't. He was a narcissist, he was a terrible human being and a piece of shit, but conservative he was not.
What did you say? Oh God, Plaid Cymru, God bless them. Because obviously they know that Welsh independence isn't really on the table. Their whole thing in this general election campaign is we're going to say the uncomfortable thing, Brexit. So their whole thing is just going to be we're the anti-Brexit party or whatever. You're like, really? Is that what you're going with? Do you think people give a fuck at this point? Like we moved past that now, surely. It's just liberal brain rot at this point. Brexit, honestly, Brexit has become a byword for either far right brain rot, like fucking Farage or whatever, or like liberal fucking brainwormage.
Well, literally, it's like, again, if Brexit hadn't happened, the country would be absolutely fine. I mean, even Femi is past this point now, where he says, well, Brexit is bad, it's making people poor, but like austerity was terrible, and that's what's really bad. I'm holding Keir Starmer to account. Like, Femi is off the Starmer train.
Femi's getting a little bit based recently, I have to say.
He's actually engaging in the material relationships going on. He's like, Femi, he gets thumbs up from me, even if he's a bit memey, like, driving to Hull at 4 a.m. to stop Brexit.
That was amazing. That makes me love him more because that's so delightfully mental but innocent.
Exactly, it's a real kind of like Partridge driving to Dundee moment. But like, at the end of the day, Femi is actually putting in real, genuine analysis of the situation. Like he debated Graham Hughes on this as well. It was an interesting discussion. That's fine, but Femi's doing more than these people.
You're still Brexit brain as well. Why? I mean, look, don't get me wrong. Brexit bad. We know that, but like. It's A, it's done, and B, it's not coming back in the next 10 years. Let's say Brexit isn't going to be an actionable political policy area. Nothing's going to change in that regard.
Yeah, and the fundamental problems were present both pre and post Brexit. Sure, Brexit has made these things worse. It's exacerbated the problem, but fundamentally, there were riots in the streets in 2011 because of cutbacks and because of the breaking down of the social kind of contract in this country, and that was all pre-Brexit. Sure. I mean, my position on the EU is if we were allowed to come back in whilst keeping the pound, probably worth it. But if we have to adopt the euro, just let it go. Just stay out the European Union. Try and do something that is better than what we got before, even though it won't be, but try and make the best of it.
Yeah. Well, are you saying make Brexit work?
I'm literally saying make Brexit work, but of course,
Tick it off.
yeah, making Brexit work was
Bingo.
always going to be like a left wing, like a leftist political project of trying to break out of the neoliberal kind of framework that the EU forces upon you, rather than working best from within it. And now we have the worst of both worlds.
Did you grow up in a Pebble Dash Sammy? Because if that, I've got a line. No.
Legislate against objective reality, and we're also trying to get rid of populism. Basing your views of the future Labour government on, like, I don't know, baseless, fearful predictions as if you're some kind of mystic Meg just feels a bit weird to me, considering we're in an actual emergency.
I hate this shit. Oh, you can predict what Labour are going to do in government. No, I guess not. But like, we can listen to what they say they're going to do.
I feel like, again, it's this mythical world they live in where Starmer is just lying to everybody and he's going to do this Super Saiyan like socialist reveal where he becomes, you know, that bit in the Simpsons where it stops being Russia and they turn the sign round and it says Soviet Union on the front, like as if they think this is going to happen. I'm just like, no, they're doing and saying things.
That's the mystical fucking mystic Meg bullshit.
Yeah.
They're thinking that you can see through a crystal ball when we're just taking the party at its word, looking at the actions that they're committing, the people that they're putting in various positions and what they're saying, who the shadow cabinet are, right? And going,
I've read campaign material.
Kind of right ways.
But a fundamental issue here that you have, the whole democratic process is based upon deciding before the election who to fucking vote for. Look, how else are we supposed to do that but by predicting what we think they might fucking do when they get into power? Look,
well, you have to do the reasonable thing and just believe and have faith in the red ribbon.
Would someone do that? Would a politician get on TV and just lie to me? Surely not.
Absolutely. And on top of that as well, she says, we want to get rid of populism. No, I am a populist. I am a left-wing I believe in populism. This is why, again, because they hate populism. They think it's conspiracy theory if you point out the hedge fund managers, investment bankers, and Israeli lobbyists are the ones literally bankrolling the Starmer Politburo. It's clear as day. It's clear as day who does the funding and whose interests are being served and who is expecting return on investment. But to point this out is like engaging in conspiracy theory stuff. It's just like such shallow analysis because there are elites in control and we want them gone. We want a popular movement of people.
That's the shit that
what
was it? Sarah Shaheen or whatever got kicked for saying the phrase the Israel lobby or whatever, which you know, hey, you might not know me. I'm Viv. I'm an anti-fascist. I spent a long time like punching Nazis and shit. And I you know, I'm not a big fan of anti-Semitism, and I understand.
You're the tolerant left, are you?
Mm-hmm. I'm not tolerant at all. But I do not tolerate fucking bigotry of any kind. But so I understand these tropes, right? And I understand how, and it seems to me, I think it's reasonable to say that the hollow idea of the anti-Semitic trope is being weaponized and used to just expel anybody who tries to bring up the fact that like there are actually groups who have Israel, not Jewish people, but Israel's interests in mind. That have a significant amount of power within the Labour Party. Do they control the Labour Party like puppet mask? No. They do the same kind of lobbying that everybody else fucking does, right? But it's very reasonable, I think, to point out that there are quite a few of those groups, Labour Friends of Israel, what's the other one? I forget, the other big one, whatever. There are quite a few of those groups, and not really that many no groups that I can think of off the top of my head. They're advocating for the interests of like Palestinians, right? In the same way, I think it's reasonable to point that out. And so that phrase, the Israel lobby, like always causes a little bit of a fucking furore, and it can be used in an anti-Semitic way. But I think there's a lot of people who are accusing people of using it in an anti-Semitic way when they're just pointing out the very obvious truth that Labour Friends of Israel exist.
Yeah. Yeah, well, and Faisal Shaheen got done because she liked a tweet that had a video clip from Jon Stewart on the Daily Show.
Yeah.
So she got criticised because apparently she tweeted out, or she liked a tweet involving a Jewish man talking about Israel. But that's anti-Semitic. No.
I mean,
John Stewart is literally
in a hilarious turn of events, what happened to her was essentially what John Stewart was lampooning in the video. Yeah.
Yeah, literally. Yeah.
Yeah.
See right now with the Tories, yeah. In an ideal world, what Jones is promoting is fair. But then it gets a bit awkward when first past the post enters the chat, doesn't it? If our political system and our voting system
Oh, you haven't
was
thought
different,
about it, stupid lefty.
I'd probably support it. But I
Tactical voting is so fucking smart and intelligent, and you're dumb for wanting to vote for things that you care about.
Well, that's just student politics, giving a fuck about stuff.
Jesus fucking Christ, dude. I'm so sick of the condescension. It's so fucking stupid, dude. Especially when these are the most vapid, stupid, fucking naive analyses that you can get in politics, and they have the fucking gall to condescend to people who are actually doing proper political analysis.
Would you say that she's a political lightweight?
I would say that she's a political lightweight, absolutely.
Fair enough.
And he knows very well that first past the post limits the extent to which your vote counts and matters. So it's an absolutely futile enterprise.
So fuck it, give up any tiny amount of power you have and just roll over and take it. Woo! Fuck off.
Not in terms of intention or good intention necessarily, but in terms of practicality. Wanting more green and independent MPs, not a bad thing, no. But it's not workable necessarily. Unless, of course, you sign up to stopthetories.vote and you vote tactically to try and get more progressive MPs elected. There's already a campaign to do that.
Progressive MPs you're electing.
Yeah. I'm sorry, getting Luke Akehurst elected is not progressive.
Accept the crumbs of
That's not a progressive
neoliberalism.
move, I'm sorry, no.
Yeah, exactly. The Stop the Tories.vote place will tell you to vote for Labour in North Durham, and you will get We Believe in Israel director into fucking Parliament, being there to lobby for the interests of a foreign fucking state.
Yep.
Running it. Right. Now, in terms of this upcoming election, it is crucial, right? It's an emergency. One of the most crucial in modern times, I would say. We have a BNP stroke National Front Conservative government that's directly contributed to the deaths of over 350,000 people through COVID and austerity. I tell you every time I make a video about what the government is doing to the people of this country. Killing them, stealing.
Right, but just saying Tories bad isn't enough. Why should I vote for your set of fucking wankers to be in the control of situation?
I mean, you just have to convince me that Labour aren't going to be doing similar or the same, right? Even if you say, oh, they're marginally better. Well, I don't want to vote for the people who kill 300,000 versus the people who kill 350,000. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, both of these are fucking
atrocities. But didn't you see the clip from Gordon Brown from 20 years ago saying stuff? Isn't that convincing in 2024?
No, it really isn't. And like I said, I laughed my fucking tits off when she brought up that clip because I thought that's fucking ridiculous. Why would you not show me Starmer? Why would you not show me the current Labour Party if you want to argue that the current Labour Party is so different from the Tories? Why do you have to go back 10 fucking years? Yeah. Like that, if anything, that is more telling than anything that she fucking knows. Like I hate to just call somebody a liar to their fucking face, right? But like it shouts to me that she fucking knows. She couldn't find Starmer being that different from the Tories, so she had to go back to fucking Gordon Brown 10 fucking years ago to try and make this stupid fucking point.
Exactly. I also want to point out, first of all, excellent Twitch name, Woke CIA Drone Pilot. Big fan of that.
Nice,
but again, points out like they're just completely avoiding like all of the millions that were killed under Blair. Like it's so myopic. I also want to point out as well when people talk about
most of those were Iraqis, so why should we care? You
I just
know?
want to point out as well is that they keep saying the point that she made. Well, if we tactically vote, it'll have more progressive MPs. Look, this is not stop the Tories.vote because, funnily enough, she keeps saying everyone should go to stop the Tories.vote. They've not even put up their fucking predictions yet. They've not even put up their suggested votes on stop the Tories vote. So I've had to go to tactical vote instead, which is a different one, but done by people she's not associated with. And look, and here, like Leicester South, where we're canvassing next weekend, it says to vote tactical here, vote Labour. Because they've just took the 2019 result and then gone Tories in second, Labour in first. You should vote for Jonathan Ashworth, quote unquote, as your progressive, quote unquote, massive air quotes, progressive MP. When if you look at the MRP polling, Greens are in second. Now this is a problem with the tactical voting websites, because if you look at Bristol, if you look at this one for like Bristol or whatever it was, if you look at like a Bristol postcode, it actually does tell you to tactically vote Green to advantage the progressive smaller parties. Like this one does, but I'm sure Stop the Tories.vote won't do it. Like again, she can't even guarantee there being progressives because it's telling you to vote for non-progressive members of parties that just happen to be slightly less right-wing than the Conservative Party.
Yeah. Also, again, why did you bring up John Ashworth and Doc's mixed Vivian Wolf like that? That's Jesus.
Is
Feeling
that
from
bad
them.
empanada live stream there? It fucking is. Jesus Christ.
Oh, in my recommended, yeah.
Oh.
So
Are you a big bad enchilada fan?
no, but I do watch his stuff because he's a crazy cunt.
He is a fucking deranged racist.
I think his
piece of
his video essays are pretty good. I just think on Twitter and on probably his live streams as well. I've not watched his live streams, but no, probably is. On Twitter certainly is absolutely completely insane off his rocker. But like his video about like self-determination, his video about like the history of neoliberalism, for example, like
honestly his video on Argentina's dictatorship through Argentine cinema is genuinely very, very good. I learned some shit on that. You think, how can someone who makes thoughtful, well put together videos like that be such a crazy cunt? I don't understand how those two people.
Not just crazy, he's just straight up like his rhetoric is like straight up genocidal, racist.
Yeah.
Like he's a nasty fucking piece of work.
Didn't he put up a vote on his Twitter about should every Israeli citizen be killed?
Yeah, I commented on it the other day. I was just like,
now this is red triangle posting.
Yeah, that's grim. That's grim.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But also on top of that as well, like,
entire-
I just want to point Raj on somebody in chat who said that they said that I don't think Siputansky is smart enough, or is that an intellectual to warrant this level of scrutiny. And you know what? I think you're right. I don't think she's intellectual enough to warrant this level of scrutiny. But these are the arguments that you hear verbatim from everybody else from this clique of politics. And it's unfortunate for Siputansky that she is the one who's facing all of our ire. Again, I don't have hate in my heart for her. I think that she broadly is better than a lot of the other people from this kind of sphere of politics. It's fine. But she just happens to be like the vector with which we are receiving the vast majority of these arguments that we want to debunk.
hey, look, she's just the fucking person who decided to throw this shit at me and condescend to me the other day on Twitter, okay? That's the only reason we're fucking doing this, all right?
Okay.
Dude, she started it.
Fight.
Actually, I probably
political
started it by commenting on her shit than calling her a hack.
Okay.
But she's...
She started by fucking existing as an annoying prick.
yeah, exactly.
Them in corruption, right? They are dangerous authoritarians. Now, it's Owen's view that the Tories are automatically toast, and he bases that on the polling, the current polling, which are showing large gains for Labour at the moment, but the polls will tighten as we get closer to a general election.
That hasn't happened. In fact, actually,
The opposite. Yeah, literally. The polls have gotten wider ever since Rishi Sunak announced the campaign in the rain and then said they're going to send like kids off the fucking national service. Polls tanked, yeah.
Yeah. Also, I mean, again, it's just perfect. The first place he went to was the Titanic dockyard.
By the way, national
Genius.
service is slavery. Mandatory national service is slavery.
Yeah, but it's mandatory, but they're not going to actually force you to do anything. But it is mandatory, but they're not going to force you, but it is mandatory.
Well, I mean, you get locked out of a particular job market if you don't do it.
But it's mandatory, but it's not mandatory, but it is
Yeah,
mandatory. Yeah. Also, yeah, it's just a stupid idea that they hadn't thought through. That's like a 2 a.m. fucking come down from a night out idea that then you don't tell people.
Well,
ever.
you know what? I think they just wanted to wrestle the headlines away from Labour.
And they did by everyone going, this is a fucking stupid idea.
Yeah, they did. and then Labour wrestled the headlines away from the Tories by engaging in a Stalinist purge of left-wing members and going after Diane Abbott, which was nuts to me because like the Tories were busy shooting themselves in the foot in the headlines, and so Labour were like, I can shoot myself in the foot harder. Oh geez, whoever wins this election, it will just be literally be the person who shot themselves in the foot less. Person with one raggedy, straggly, scraggly scrap of toe remaining. You know, that one's in government.
And the kind of results that are being projected by a number of polls are not guaranteed to hold if you're telling everyone to vote for a party that's got no hope of getting rid of the Tory in that constituency. So the left vote could be split and the Tories sneak it over the line. You've also got to take into account that the Tories are pulling tricks
We've
like...
said this before, but like at the end of the day, lots of these seats, that's not going to happen because Labour are going to be absolutely barnstorming through huge swathes of the electorate, as all the polls show and have continued to show. There's been no electoral tightening. Even Opinion, who take electoral tightening into account in their polls, have Labour 20 points ahead and on course for the biggest majority of all time. Like the issue here, the big issue that we need to be that this misses is that, again, all you're doing is you're just deliberately trying to funnel votes into Labour so that we again lose loads of campaign funding for genuinely progressive parties for the future. Otherwise the Greens are going to sit around on a fucking threadbare budget, which we could do without risking a Tory win.
He is so desperate to get her not to stand.
Breaking news, according to the Times, which used to be a paper of record, but so just take it with a pinch of salt. Diane Abbott has been offered a peerage, so that would be a seat in the House of Lords, in order for her to quit as a candidate for the general election. So, yeah, he's really desperate to get rid of her. Basically, shove her off to the Lords where she's not actually visible or that annoying, or she probably won't turn up most of the fucking time, you imagine. Yeah. Brilliant. Just fucking excellent. Well done, Keith.
I fucking hate the House of Lords anyway, because it's it's by nature an unelected house. Yeah. But like, you know, the continued denigration of the purpose of the House of Lords through these politically motivated appointments. We criticized Boris Johnson for it, right? And I know this isn't the same as putting one of your cronies in there, but it's essentially like, oh, I'll give you a peerage if you do something politically good for my party. Like,
well, that's actually, this is the, you know what, Roak, you raise a good point. This might be the only way in which he actually gets rid of the House of Lords. If he has to actually follow through and give Diane Abbott a peerage, that might actually force him to abolish the House of Lords instead.
Give her a peerage and then abolish it 2 months later.
Yeah,
that would be very Starmerite, wouldn't it?
It would. But you know what? I'd be here for it. That would be a positive policy that we could all get behind, I think. But anyway, so that's breaking news. Assuming that it's news at all, which it might not be.
She's listed as the candidate on the Labour website. Like, she wants to be in Parliament. The same like that Jeremy Corbyn just wanted to be in Parliament. Like, they want to serve their constituents. You know, the fucking job of an MP.
True. But she could be Baroness Abbott of Stoke Newington. What a thing that would be.
I wonder how much Diane Abbott cares about that. That's the question. She probably does want a spot on the Lords eventually, but I don't know how much.
I don't think she does. I don't think she does.
No.
Well, I mean, to be honest, she's old enough now where you feel like I don't know what else she would do. Like, surely a seat in the House of Lords, when I think she wanted to stand this time, but then probably next time she'd be old enough where you think, like, does she want to carry on or not? And the Lords is like a good place to go and retire as a politician, really, isn't it?
I would like to see her say, go fuck yourself to Keir Starmer and then go
run as independent anyway. Yeah,
barnstorm her election, run as an independent. Yeah.
But I think they've come out and said that she can run as a candidate. It's just that now they're desperately trying to coax her into not being the candidate. But they're embarrassed in the public sphere so much that they had to, allow her to stand a candidate.
Yeah, it's a real mess, but I genuinely do not think that she wants a seat in the House of Lords, given the people that she managed to rally around her to want to be the MP. So I will be your MP, whether it's Labour or not. Like, it clearly looks to me like she is willing. She wants to be there to serve her constituents, which again, like, so did Corbyn for the same reason.
I think you have a lot more faith in her than I do. I don't think she's that brilliant a person that she wouldn't be swayed by something like that.
Fair enough. Maybe you're right.
And look, I'd like to be proven wrong. I'd love for her to go and win her election and lead the from the back benches a revolt against Keir Starmer. That'd be wonderful. But the easy way out for her would be to take the peerage. You know, that would be the path of least resistance, and she'd have no political effectiveness. But we'll see.
Like this, right? Deliberately disenfranchising voters, bringing in voter ID to put another roadblock in the way, mostly disenfranchising the poor and people of colour in this country who may not have voter ID. The Tories are not guaranteed to lose, whether it's via disenfranchising voters with ID, with...
Do we know, as Sir Keith said that he's going to get rid of the voter ID stuff?
He has explicitly ruled out getting rid of the voter ID.
Oh, what a fucking cunt. What's the point of that? He must know that doesn't serve himself at all well, right? He must know that. Even just on a self-preservation base or on a self-interest basis, you'd get rid of it. You dopey cunt! Like, how desperate is he to fucking to suckle upon fucking Murdoch's wrinkly old ballsack? Really, it's embarrassing. It really is. He's just a fucking Tory. I'm sorry, I'm not playing this stupid game with Tansky. He's a fucking Tory. He's not going to roll back any of the evil shit they've done, including the fucking puberty blocker stuff this week. They're not going to fucking overturn that.
Yeah, where Streeting explicitly said that it was a good thing. And that's who these people want in charge of trans people's healthcare. Like...
Fuck him. He's a Tory then. Fuck him. I'm not voting for this cunt. You're not part of the Progressive Alliance. You, Tansky, are the Tory enabler.
RD Hale from Council State Media tweeted this out, and I retweeted it because I 100% agree, which is that stop telling me I'm splitting the left vote by not voting Labour. Labour are not part of the left vote. I am not their vote. I am not. This is not a part of a coalition that I am with. They are not representations of the left. I am not splitting the left. You are splitting the centre by saying to vote Labour over the Tories. You are splitting the right by wanting to vote Labour over the Tories. I am here voting for left-wing candidates because I'm from the left. That's it. I don't want them to get any votes. I don't want them to get anything because I don't think that they represent politics that I want to have represented in government. It's as simple as that.
Yeah.
Just chucking them off the electoral roll or literally moving the goalposts with boundary changes, plus the stranglehold that they have on the information sources like most of the press. It is absolutely far from in the bag, and we can't treat it like it's in the bag because that's how the Tories sneak in and they con a win again. Now, Jones, and unfortunately the Greens are promoting this whole vote with your heart strategy, right?
Well, I mean, you can watch whatever. I don't know. Did you have something else you wanted to do?
It's very grating now. But I mean, at the end of the day, I think that again, she tries to claim that we're voting with our heart, which is again just not the case.
Yeah.
Except that doesn't work under our current voting system, and I think it's pretty disingenuous to not make that clear to people. If we had voter reform or some kind of PR, knock yourself out, but we don't. It's too high risk, and the sad fact of the matter is this is a two-party system, and this is not the time to be squabbling about ideology.
It's not. We lived through the fucking coalition phase. That wasn't that long ago. So it's clearly not a two-party system, is it? Third parties can get involved in government and affecting the makeup of Parliament. The SNP have had an enormous impact on parliamentary, not ergonomics, what we're talking about, the practicalities of it all. Yeah, we're literally talking now about the Tories maybe not even being the official opposition. I think they still will, but it's not guaranteed. So it's not a two-party system. Stop lying to people.
Ideology. Now, Blair and Brown had this exact same problem in the lead up to the 1997 election when they changed their party, right? They had the old left saying that they were too far to the right, too centrist, and they ended up...
And they just did an illegal war, yeah.
One of the things, and again, at the very least, right? First of all, there was no Blairite purge. We talked about this with Sean earlier. There was no Blairite. The Blairites didn't purge the left; they just sidelined them. they weren't relevant to the political project. You know, like people like Robin Cook and Claire Shaw were in like the cabinet or whatever. And on top of that, Tony Blair, after John Smith died, explicitly and sincerely ran on a right-wing platform to become the leader, to try and win people over by moving on from John Smith's one last push tactic to get elected post-Kinnock in 92. He said, we want to change the Labour Party and modernise it by getting rid of Clause 4, and the membership supported it and voted him on that principle, and he followed through with it sincerely. And you know what? That's fine. I don't like it, but it's the democratic will of the Labour membership. Whatever. Starmer lied to everybody. He lied to everybody. He changed his positions. He purged people when he said that he wouldn't. He's a disgraceful, deceitful piece of shit. And so is everybody in his Politburo. They disgust me. They disgust me for the things that they've done to what should be the Labour movement. Like, Tony Blair had buy-in from the unions. He may not have had buy-in from like the socialist like wing of the Labour Party, like parliamentary party or whatever, but the unions bought into it and were happy to go along with it. And Starmer is fighting the unions, he's fighting the members, and he sold the Labour Party to professional managerial class people who think that they know better than everybody else, and rich motherfuckers from the banking and private capital industry. It's disgraceful.
He sacked Sam Terry for going and standing on a fucking picket line, for God's sake.
That is the word as well. He sold it. He sold the Labour Party. Sold the Labour Party to rich fucks so that he could get
apartheid profiteers.
Yeah. It's fucking depressing.
I think you mean wealth creators.
I'm actually
around one of the most redistributive governments since the war. Yeah, millions
I gotta
of
go.
elderly people and
what?
Yeah, sorry, I wasn't expecting this to take so long.
What did you think was going to happen? We've only been going 2 hours. What the fuck?
2 hours is quite long.
I'm looking for 3.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you want to just stop then?
I mean, I think we've got through most of the bits you wanted to cover, Viv.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. I feel like an asshole now.
It's all right.
I can stay a bit longer if you like.
No.
Just,
Heaven forbid we put you out in your fucking heavy social schedule. Jesus.
Oh, I'm
joking. No,
gonna go watch Godzilla -1 with a friend.
There was a clip actually somebody in chat wanted to post from Phil from A Different Bias doing something, talking about the Diane Abbott thing. It's only a minute and a bit clip. If you want to pop it on, Kev, we shall save the ears of our listeners without having to go through like another hour of Supertansky or whatever.
Okay.
Yeah, like honestly, I mean, I think we've said all we can about this fucking loser anyway. It's
also that's a good point, Jim, as well. Apparently she said that Blair and Brown were the most redistributive since the war, when first of all Clement Attlee and also the Gini coefficient in the UK was at its highest under the Labour government.
Yes. 1 second.
Tim's talking about Pfizer Shine deselected at the last minute. Why? It depends what your question is. If you're asking why was she deselected at the last minute, that's a cock up. Shouldn't have been at the last minute. If you're asking why she was deselected,
No, whoa. Pause.
So apart from any,
It wasn't a cock up. It wasn't. It was deliberate. It was deliberately done at the last minute to try and ensure that there was no point where she could do legal challenges or anything like that. In fact, it was even told she went public and said specifically that the NEC had already made the decision weeks ago, but deliberately waited as long as possible, probably to like be needlessly cruel and hurt her while she was campaigning and looking after her child, but also so that it was as close to the election as possible, so they could parachute in somebody and bypass the CLP. The fact that Phil doesn't know this, like he is very intimately aware about the internal workings of the Labour Party. He 100% knows this and is absolutely 100% lying. I guarantee it to you, chat.
Yeah.
Just like Diane Abbott, because Starmer was fucking raging about that getting leaked too early, right? For them. Yeah, I was fucked. Anyway, okay.
I think
I'm gonna go.
Go for it. No, we'll see you later.
I love all of you.
Stuff.
Have fun. Thank you for letting me do this, Gav. I feel like I've had my vengeance.
Okay. Everyone go and follow Viv on the various platforms and go over to the Patreon and be very generous.
Absolutely. Mix Vivian Wolf on all the platforms. Also, by the way, Kev, can you put this in 0.7 times 11.5 speaks? I think they've sped it up when they've recorded it to fit it for a Twitter clip.
Bye.
Bye.
See ya.
anything else, like people are saying, oh, because she likes this comedy skit from America. No, that's a bit like, like if a kid gets in trouble at school And and they come out, oh, why did you get into trouble at school? I had an argument. They gave me detention just for having an argument with Jimmy. And it turns out this argument involved punching Jimmy in the face, right? They miss out that little detail. The same thing happened in her case. So a few years ago, someone put it to her, which is international, is fact, by the way. If you target Jewish people for murder because they're Jewish, you're not just killing a Jewish person, you're killing them because they're Jewish. That is an anti-Semitic attack on them. It's an anti-Semitic murder. And
if you murder someone,
deny that. If you say that targeting Jewish people,
what the fuck is it? What? I don't know I don't know what's happening there.
Because they're Jewish, isn't anti-Semitism. That is, you are basically going against the established definition of anti-Semitism, right? And she did that, and she was recorded.
Where did she do that?
Yeah, when did this happen? What the fuck are you talking about?
What?
I don't know what that's why I'm so confused. I was like, did she do a murder? What is this? So she denied that someone who was Jewish who was murdered for being Jewish was murdered because they were Jewish. Did this happen? What is he referring to exactly here? Because I've not even heard anything about this. All I've heard is the.
Okay, if she genuinely did that, then it's terrible if she said that. But
yeah.
where's the evidence that she said this?
Yeah, because all I've seen is the Jon Stewart bit. Right, hang on, Jon Stewart Twitter. Sorry, because I'm not on Twitter now. I have to actually go to the specific fucking thing. Otherwise,
is the Twitter video able to go louder? By the way, people are asking.
No, it is not, unfortunately. Because that's as loud as it goes, sadly. Hang on, that's not. Is that actually Jon Stewart? I don't know who it is.
Do you know it on mainstream telly? So it's things like that, which, although it was a few years ago,
is it on TV?
Has never shown any signs.
Yeah, when did this happen? And why was she allowed to stay in the party if this was the case?
Yeah, why was she not like again? You can have to post again. He always does. He did this in our debate where there was just said a bunch of things with zero receipts for any of these things. What? He's making a metaphor. He didn't say she tweeted that. What?
Yeah. So this is what actually happened to the other day. Hang on a minute. Where are we? Mehdi Hassan, fine British journalist who now lives and works in America, put, "Hey, Jon Stewart, not sure if you're all following the Jon Stewart-related news out of the UK, but Labour parliamentary candidate and Muslim woman Faiza Shaheen has been suspended tonight from the Labour Party for liking a Twitter, locking on Twitter this old Israel video skit of yours, right?" And then he responded with, "This is the dumbest thing the UK has ever done since electing Boris Johnson. What the actual fuck?"
So the specific thing that it was more complicated than that. Like the tweet in question was a long thread that had the video as the main thing, but the thing that she was specifically pulled up on was this idea that there was the tweet mentioned an Israel lobby, and that's true. Like there is an Israel lobby. Like that's like 100%. Every state, India has a lobby. Like Kiribati has a lobby.
America has NATO.
Yeah, Suriname has a lobby. Like this is just how international politics works.
Well, exactly. I wouldn't want to be in the pocket of Big Paramaribo.
Right, okay. Sarah says in chat, he was explaining what anti-Semitism was by saying that if you say these things, then you would be anti-Semitic. And then he said she did that, i.e. did anti-Semitism. He didn't explain what the anti-Semitism she did was. Right, okay, so he's obfuscating if Sarah's analysis this is correct.
Well, no, but he specifically said, and oh fuck, I got rid of the wrong bastard thing. Hang on a minute, I'll go back to the Discord and get it again. No, he specifically said that she'd said this on TV.
Oh yeah,
so
he did say that. Yeah,
he's referring to a very specific, supposedly recorded piece of audiovisual evidence. Which, if that were true, why don't you show that? I mean, you have clearly the capability. You're doing a stream here or a video of some kind. Why not show us that? Because that would be very easy at that point, and you just go, "Look, here she is denying the murder of a Jewish person." Like, but you haven't.
Isn't anti-Semitism? That is, you are basically.
Yeah, they really did speed that up. Fuck me.
Going against the established definition of anti-Semitism.
You go back and let's listen to the whole thing again. I want to make sure I'm understanding what he's saying here.
Yeah. Okay. Right.
Tim's talking about Pfizer Shine deselect at the last minute. Why? It depends what your question is. If you're asking why was she deselected at the last minute, that's a cock up. Shouldn't have been at the last minute. If you're asking why she was deselected, so apart from anything else, like people are saying, oh, because she liked this comedy skit from America. No, that's a bit like like if a kid gets in trouble at school. And and they come out, oh, why did you get into trouble at school? I had an argument. They gave me detention just for having an argument with Jimmy. And it turns out this argument involved punching Jimmy in the face, right? They miss out that little detail. The same thing happened in her case. So a few years ago, someone put it to her, which is international, is fact, by the way. If you target Jewish people for murder because they're Jewish, you're not just killing a Jewish person, you're killing them because they're Jewish. That is an anti-Semitic attack on them. It's an anti-Semitic murder. And if you deny that, if you say that targeting Jewish people because they're Jewish isn't anti-Semitism, that is, you are basically going against the established definition of anti-Semitism, right? And she did that, and she was recorded doing it. She did it on mainstream telly. So it's things.
I mean, okay, where's the evidence of that happening? And also, why the fuck was she, if this happened years ago, why was she allowed to stay in the Labour Party under Keir Starmer for years as an anti-Semite? I'm
so confused. This is so...
Yeah, hang on. Pfizer, let's see if we can find any kind of what the fuck
No, but I think it'll all be like lost in a bunch of news stories about what the given reason was.
Yeah, probably, but I mean, you never know. At least, look, if we can find some sort of clip as to what he's even referencing here. Nothing offensive. Hang on, let's have a look. No, it's just it's all Jon Stewart stuff.
Well, let's finish the rest of the video and see what else if there's anything.
Yeah. Okay, 1 second.
Things like that, which, although it was a few years ago, given that she has never shown any signs of changing her mind on it or apologise or anything like that, if anyone brought that up in the election campaign, that would cause a lot of problems for Labour, as you can imagine. So that is... Things like that are why she was deselected. Then, of course, she justified her deselection by going on 2 separate mainstream media programmes and attacking the concept of a Labour government. She didn't just attack her deselection. She specifically said a Labour government's going to be absolutely terrible. It's going to remove our civil liberties and all sorts. She said that. So that also...
It's true. Yeah, she's right.
And then, of course, her friends vandalised...
What do you want to just fucking lie, Phil? Did you want her to lie by omission? You say, oh, actually, no, this Keir Starmer person who's purged me and who's abandoned party democracy and lied to the membership and is just generally the representation of all the fucking worst people in politics. Do you want to just admit that after she got treated like fucking abysmally by the party? What the fuck are you talking about, Phil?
Yeah, why should you play nicey nice when you're literally fucking you've deselected her and called her, I mean, a massive anti-Semite or whatever? I found a link.
Because again, like if what Phil is saying that she said somebody who was murdered for being Jewish wasn't a victim of anti-Semitism, like if he's genuinely being correct here, absolutely expulsion issue. That's clear anti-Semitism that she would have been engaging in there, absolutely, because it is an anti-Semitic murder clearly by everyone's definition and by every normal definition. But of course, where's the evidence that she did this? Because that's again, that's literally that is beyond the pale if she's done that. But I've not seen this at all, and it wasn't even mentioned in the NEC motion.
Yeah. All I can find is literally a quote of her saying, if terrorists who hunt down and murder Jewish people for being Jewish are anti-Semitic. So literally the opposite of what he's saying, she said.
Well, bring up on screen. Let me see it. Let me see it.
Hang on 1 second, a minute. Philip. Oh, that tweet's been deleted. Fuck me. Palestine Expo promotion. Hang on a minute. Where are we? Where's the fucking quote? Hang on a minute. I have to do F5. 1 second. No, that. Oh, sorry. I'm fucking flustered now. Why wouldn't it do the... Hang on. Sorry, apologies, everyone. I'm trying to find the fucking find tool, and it won't happen. Hang on. Do I have to need to stop sharing? Do you want to just talk for a second whilst I try and find what the fuck I'm doing?
I mean, people are saying, "Oh well, yeah, this is libelous from Phil." I'm just like, well, I'm really like, no, I hate like slap lawsuits and shit like that. Whatever. Like, I'm again, like, it's just a random like nobody YouTuber. I mean, obviously he's got 180,000 subscribers, but in the world of politics, he's still a nobody. Like, I'm not gonna.
Yeah, that's not a huge number, but I think it's enough that you really oughtn't do that. I think.
I mean, you should. What you should be doing is just being held to account and then deleting and saying sorry if it's made up shit. Like, again, it may well be true. I don't even know. Like, at this point, it could well be true. You need to produce the receipts. But either put the receipts up or delete and say sorry. Like, that's fine. We'd have to bring out the fucking lawyers.
Oh, the video isn't available. Sorry. Okay, no. So I was wrong. According to a thing called NGO Monitor, it says Faisal Shaheen, Labour parliamentary candidate and chair of a panel titled "Media Honest Reporting?" in 2018. Shaheen stated that it was not a fact that terrorists who hunt down and murder Jewish people for being Jewish is an anti-Semitism issue. But if you go to the link they provided, it's a video that doesn't exist anymore. So
It's worth watching. NGO Monitor is literally an arm of the Israeli government.
Well, there you go. That doesn't surprise me enormously.
Yeah, so the NGO Monitor are the people who will say, like, you can't donate money to Palestine Save the Children because they're Hamas or whatever.
Yeah.
But I mean, what does the link to? Is it a YouTube clip?
Yeah, it's a YouTube clip that's now been deleted, and the same is true with this. So there's another link.
And then in which case Phil must be this is either sharing something, he's seen the clip already and it does say that was what he said, or he's looked at NGO Monitor who don't have any actual evidence to back up their claims, and which is pretty like moot. But I mean, it's concerning at the very least. But I always take people like NGO Monitor with a pinch of salt. But it's just like Memory, which exists specifically to try and broadcast things with dodgy translations to paint the Palestinians as being worse than they actually are, even though they do most of the time have like selectively chosen clips or whatever it is.
Yeah. But as we can't even find the fucking clip anywhere, I'm just going to take it as read that this is fucking bullshit until I see otherwise.
I'll tell you what I'll do. NGO Monitor Faisal Shaheen. Let me find it. Let's see if there's a web archive link of the clip that we're thinking here.
Okay.
NGO Monitor.
Because if she did say that, then that's obviously beyond the pale.
Yeah, absolutely. He stated it's a link to a YouTube clip. Copy link address. There was not a fact that terrorists who hunt down and murder Jewish people is an anti-Semitism issue. Right. Archive.ph. Archive save snapshots. Nope, there's no archived URL of that. Let me try and take that up. No web archive whatsoever. Where was it at? It was at... So the actual website itself says it was at the Palestine Expo 2019. So if I search Palestine Expo 2019,
well, the only screenshot I've seen was from a Sky News bit, but I mean, yeah, I don't know. NGO Monitor is a right-wing non-governmental organization based in Jerusalem that reports on international NGO activity from a pro-Israel perspective. Yep, that's about right. A revenue of 385 grand. Jesus Christ, where are they getting that money from? As of 2015, NGO Monitor Advisor Council members such as Elliot Abrams, who was the neocon hack who wanted to invade Venezuela under what you call it, and was involved in the Iraq War, Alan Dershowitz, lol, Douglas Murray, and R. James Woolsey. So yeah, that's the kind of organization NGO Monitor is.
It is tough. Again, I'm not going to just dismiss it as being Hasbro propaganda or whatever until I've seen the clip and I know what discussion is here. I'm going to remain ambivalent until I see the evidence because, again, like, I'm not going to.
I just think it's interesting that an organisation that has Mr. Hitler, was it Germany, mucked up twice in a century, Douglas Murray on their fucking advisory camp, wants to tell anyone else what anti-Semitism is. Okay, you know, just a thought for you.
There's also like I've just found a Times of Israel article about the expo in question. I'm trying to see if there's any links here. Number of politicians were there. Faiza Shaheen. Talks about it just talks about they were discussing BDS.
Have I been muted? I can't see any of my comments. You should be able to see your comments, Dabs. I haven't muted you, as far as I'm aware.
In the Times of Israel article, at no point mentions the word anti-Semitism. So actually, Lawyers for Israel, it does mention that, sorry, because it's got a hyphen in, that's why I missed it out. Condemns the arguments and methods of BDS as anti-Semitic, but it promotes BDS in this thing. See if Palestine Expo, the actual Twitter account, has a clip of it.
Did we find the crime that she's committed yet? No, because they're saying she said a thing. Okay, well, show me her saying the thing then. You know, look, this is bullshit.
So as far as the Palestine Expo Twitter account doesn't mention anything.
Yeah, so this is, if all we're getting is obviously biased, have every interest in the world to lie about this, people saying it.
Just reading this whole article to try and find it. Let me just have a look.
Yeah, that's no problem. Thank you to everyone who's given bits and subs and stuff tonight. I really appreciate that. Apologies that I haven't really been shouting you out. I've had guests on, but I do appreciate that, and you can, of course.
Because what might have happened is they might have said that, oh, well, there's not, like, the resistance brigades might not have been necessarily anti-Semitic. That might have been the question, and they are transposing the idea that the resistance brigades not being anti-Semitic means that, well, anti-Semitic, all the resistance brigades in NGO Monitor's mind want to hunt down Jews for being Jews, and therefore they transpose that into defense of the resistance brigades. Of course, Hamas have said plenty of anti-Semitic things, but that is not the entirety of the resistance brigades. You know, you've got PFLP, DFLP, who, whilst having committed terrorist acts or whatever, they don't hunt down Jews for being Jews. Like, this is a complex issue. But again, without the evidence of what she's done and said and the context within, I literally cannot confirm nor quash what's being said here.
Yeah. This is as bad as Destiny reading Wikipedia during a debate on Palestine. No,
this is super important though. Like, we need to know what's being said here, because if this is true, this is really fucking damning. And then the entire media narrative on this story has been different. Like, if the media haven't been mentioning this is a dereliction of media duty of someone who's genuinely said something like actively anti-Semitic. But we have no evidence of these things, so we can't confirm nor quash, which is the problem.
Also, how do we know that they aren't using cookies to make fucking rocket fuel?
True, like the Kassam cookie rockets. Right.
True. Chocolate chip death. Oh yeah, and let's not forget. I think it's worth mentioning. They're still literally bombing Rafah right now. That's the thing that's still happening. They're still doing it. Red lines, anyone? Did anyone say red lines? No? Okay, cool, awesome. I'm just going to call it as bullshit. It's not up to us to disprove a thing, because how could you even do that? If they're the ones making the positive claim, you have to show some fucking evidence that it happened. I can't prove she's never said it because I don't know what she's said in every instance ever.
Yeah.
What's the old thing? You can't prove a negative or some shit. Did you see Biden's peace treaty this morning? Yeah, I mean, look, if anything comes of it, cool, but I don't see anything happening there. It's not in Netanyahu's interest to have peace, because he knows as soon as he gets kicked out of office. So it just goes on forever.
Did Hamas already agree to the ceasefire proposal?
They've said that. I think they said something like they're positively inclined toward it or something, but they're going to have like meetings with people, and I presume they've got.
It seems like it gets Hamas everything that they want. Like, it seems like it's the kind of thing that they wanted, like an end to the conflict, a withdrawal of troops. I guess there's no prisoner swap, but there is an end to the conflict, and Hamas don't get turfed out of Gaza. So
I thought there was an initial partial prisoner swap, wasn't there?
I think there's just a hostage release in terms of Hamas releasing the Israeli hostages. I don't think there's a prisoner release out of Israel. Unless I'm misremembering.
I think I seem to recall there being a prisoner swap involved. Does anyone have the details again? Apologies, everybody, but yeah, we're doing a research stream now out of nowhere. Biden said it was an Israeli ceasefire offer, and then Israel said, "No, it's not." Lol. Kind of, yeah. I mean, that's basically what happened.
Okay, fair enough. We'll probably, we'll have to look into this. Again, I was searching on YouTube for the clip, just Palestine Expo 2019, Faiza Shaheen. No results on there either.
Yeah. So, also, that's not the reason that's been given by the party. And if she said this in 2019, that means that the entirety of the entirety of Keir Starmer's leadership has involved having an anti-Semite. That everyone anti-Semite, apparently. Okay.
Their own constituency Labour office as well. They vandalised it with anti-Semitic messages as well. So
whoa. They weren't even.
Reason there.
Have you seen the vandalism, Kev?
No, what happened?
I mean, you could say that there are anti-Semitic undertones to it, and I wouldn't begrudge you from saying so. But it just says "Get Israel out of UK" or something, or "Get Israel out of Labour," something like that. There's literally it's been spray painted all over the Chingford and Wood Green Labour constituency office. I guess the assumption is that there's like an Israeli plot to get rid of Faiza Shaheen there, which I guess is like it's like a conspiratorial trope, which I guess that's definitely like anti-Semitic adjacent there. But it is true that lobbyists for Israel are people with power within the Labour Party. So
yeah. So, speaking of the wise, Mr. Biden said that the first phase of the proposal would include a full and complete ceasefire, the withdrawal of IDF forces from populated areas, and an exchange of hostages for Palestinian prisoners. That's an interesting way of phrasing that. It's hostages when they're Israelis, but all of the.
So there is actually a prisoner exchange. That's literally giving Hamas everything that they want, really and truly.
Yeah, Hamas view the policy, the proposals positively. Okay. Yeah, that's well, hopefully something comes of it. But like I say, Israel have been less than perfect in terms of this. They've said like, the war will go on until we reach our goals, or whatever. You thought, fuck's sake. We'll see. Anyway, yeah. I mean, stay tuned. If anyone can provide a link to Faiza Shaheen saying, death to Israel or something, get in touch. But until these motherfuckers can provide any concrete evidence whatsoever.
Okay. Yeah, actually, it was 2018, sorry, not 2019. Maybe it's why I'm missing out. But it was a panel entitled "Media Honest Reporting."
Yeah, that's what I found on the thing.
Yeah.
But that doesn't. I mean, that's not evidence of anything. Then that's just someone saying that she said a thing without any context as well. So we don't even know in what context she was saying that.
Well, if they've linked to a YouTube video, it's highly difficult to believe they just linked to a YouTube video that just had nothing in it. Or I guess again, it might just be out of context or something. I'm not even sure.
Exactly. I don't know. It might have been clip trimmed to fuck. Who knows? I have no idea.
Yeah.
I'm not positively inclined to believe an organisation with Douglas Murray and Alan Dershowitz on the board, and no offence to your man there, but a person on YouTube who I don't necessarily entirely trust, to tell the truth, when it comes to the Labour Party and its internal chicanery. So I'm going to call bullshit on it until shown otherwise. Yeah,
I will reserve judgment until I've seen something that confirms my questions. Apparently, Shaheen's been tagged in the response to the clip there, so she can take it up with him if she's got evidence to the contrary. So we'll leave it in her hands.
Well, how could she ever have evidence to the contrary? How could you prove you've never said a thing?
I mean, because the NGO Monitor clip that Phil is referencing there, there's a specific time, place, and panel. So if she has a video footage or if she has a transcript, then she can debunk it.
Okay, well, we'll see. We will see. And on that bombshell, that political intrigue bombshell, yeah, this has been a whole thing that happened.
It really has been.
It's been emotional, and I appreciate it. Yeah, what you got coming up on your channel in the near future?
Pardon, sorry?
What have you got going on your channel in the near future? Pimp
Okay,
yourself
so
out.
absolutely. So tomorrow I'm going live with Curtis for his Normal Island podcast.
Nice.
And then we've got everyday election coverage as we do. And Saturday again, I will want to shill for the canvassing for the Green Party in Leicester South on Saturday. I think it was meeting in Leicester. I thought we'd go for 10 a.m. Again, I'm gonna have to sort out the details with Shaman and see what she says about things, so that we can coordinate plans. But we will be trying to plan for canvassing next weekend. So if you're near Leicester or near the Midlands and want to come down and help out and have a positive impact on politics rather than just typing in chat and shouting at computer screen, which is what I do for a job, and I want to try and translate that into real world politics, then feel free to come down and help out.
Yes, go and do that. I might be there. I don't know. I've got some stuff to think about.
Some ruminations to engage in. Yeah.
Exactly. I've got to let my coffee beans percolate, and we'll see what happens. Yes, I'm going to kick everyone over to Adrian Vixen. Are you aware of that person?
I am indeed aware of Adrian Vixen, friend of the show. So I will. Oh, that's that on Twitch. You're doing that, yeah?
Yes, indeed. I am doing that there.
No worries. And I will send on YouTube. I'll send over to Goddammit Malcolm.
Okay. Yes, and I'll possibly be back tomorrow. I don't know. I don't have anything planned.
Oh shit! Hang on 1 second. Sarah Jessica Fata, which is an excellent name, in YouTube chat, has said, apparently the actual quote is that Shaheen said it's not a fact that one of the Munich murderers visited the grave of one of the victims. She doesn't say what Phil claimed. Yes, it's true. So I mean, there is literally zero evidence that anybody's ever brought to us that Atef CSO was ever connected with the Munich attack.
Oh, okay. Well, there you go then.
So people say that he was killed by Mossad because he was linked to the attacks in the Munich attacks. But actually, no, CSO was murdered by Mossad for being the CIA go-between between the PLO and the US government.
Oh, okay. Well, there you go. Okay, so Phil's full of shit then. Although I suspect he doesn't know he's full of shit. I think he's just taken that on red. I think he's just gone, okay, yeah, I'll believe that. Which is sloppy, but not necessarily like actively false or whatever. But yeah. Anyway. Go and check out Adrian, who's a good person. Yeah, and I'll be back maybe tomorrow. And if not, you can always just go over and check out No Justice on the various platforms.
Absolutely. And also KF Logan 1875 over on Twitch that you can go follow there. And over on YouTube, it's at Ploppy111. I highly recommend you checking out both of those things.
But not on Twitter, because Elon Musk has murdered my opinion. Fact.
Oh yeah, shit, you can't do the Twitters anymore. That's very sad.
Oh, outrageous. Anyway, yeah, thanks for listening and watching. Thank you for all your support. I'll see you later.
Take care, stay safe, and free Palestine.
تهديد من الجيش الإسرائيلي للإخلاء